Live from the George McCoy at Warren Allen Sports Desk, a Sports Center update on 1080 The Fan.
Jeff Rust with your Sports Center update. First on The Fan, the first round of the NCAA tournament is finally here. Currently underway. It is halftime, and 1 seed Houston having no trouble with 16 seed SIU Edwardsville, 52-24 at the half. We are just underway now on CBS. Top seed Auburn and 16 seed Alabama State are scoreless. Montana and Wisconsin, that's a 3 seed Wisconsin versus 14 seed Montana, about approaching midway through the second half, and Wisconsin with a 63-50 lead over Montana. We do already have 2 finals in the books. 9 seed Creighton shoots over 57% from the field and upsets 8 seed Louisville 89-75, and 4 seed Purdue just finishing off 13 seed High Point 75-63. The Trailblazers, winners of their last 3 games, they host Nikola Jokic and the Nuggets tomorrow night. Blazers are 31-39, just 2 games out of the final play-in spot. More sports scores and stories in 30 minutes. I'm Jeff Rust from the George McCoy at Warren Allen Sports Desk. Hurt and missing work, insurance companies acting like jerks. Don't call your mom. Call George McCoy at warrenallen.com.
The Fan is live on YouTube and Twitch. And now, Window Nation brings you on-demand videos. Watch Window Nation's window into 1080 The Fan. It's the best basketball party anywhere.
Is it better to be like a 72nd best alumni from a great school, or the #1 alumni by far from a small school?
I'll go with the big school one.
Live from the Stadium Sports Bar at A&A Sportsbook, George McCoy and Warren Allen Attorneys at Law presents a Fan Madness edition of Danny and Dusty. Hurt and missing work? Insurance companies acting like jerks? Don't call your mom. Call George McCoy at warrenallen.com. A&A, make every buzzer beater, bracket buster, and Cinderella run mean more at A&A Sportsbook. Fan Madness is also brought to you by Video Only, where you always get the best deals on top-rated brands of TVs and home theater. And by Coors Light, the world's most refreshing beer. Enjoy responsibly. Fan Madness from A&A on 1080 The Fan.
Ladies and gentlemen, we are live from the Stadium Sports Bar and Grill at A&A Casino and Resort. It is that time, ladies and gentlemen. Let the college basketball begin. Danny Morang here. No Dusty Hera. He is in the great sunshine of Cabo San Lucas, Mexico. Jordan Schultz filling in today. Jeff Rust back in the studio, manning the 1s and 2s. Jordan, it's that time, buddy.
Happy to be here, man. It's crazy that it's finally here. The lead-up is pretty insane because I feel like the play-in games for some reason meant more this year than they have in years past, especially with a blue blood like North Carolina in there. So it's been a pretty fun week so far.
Yeah, you had one blue blood in, another blue blood out as Texas talked a whole lot of smack and then didn't back it up in the second half. Xavier moves on in the play-in tournament game. Well, at least the one that mattered. We'll dive into everything going on up and down all of the basketball coverage. But if you're listening right now, you've got some free time, or if you can manufacture some free time, get down here.
Please.
There are still a few seats left for the betting lounge chairs. There's a couple spots at the bar, but the early day goings-on are already they're popping, man. It's a good time down here. There's quite the line for folks cashing out tickets and banking their tickets as new games are getting underway. Pretty much everything went chalky here in the opening round with the exception of one upset so far. I don't know if you call an 8-9 an upset, but it is an upset.
I already busted my bracket. So.
Yeah, we'll get into those quick, but you can hear the roars of the crowd here.
Oh, you're missing out if you're not here, bro.
Yes, absolutely. And beyond that,
crazy.
It's spread madness. That's what you have. Is games are again pretty chalky here out of the gate, but you can feel the flow, the wave, as it will, as spreads are being covered or not covered right out of the gate, and that's always going to make things a little bit more interesting. So if you want to come down here, have a good time. We will be down here. Obviously, we're kicking things off here. Isaac and Suk will be on after us. Tomorrow morning, Dirt and Sprague will get us going bright and early at 6 in the morning. And then me and Will Ortner will be here for our show. And then Isaac and Suk will pack us up before we hand off in the final 20 minutes to Oregon Ducks basketball in their opening round game against Liberty, which the Ducks are, I believe, currently favored by 7.5.
That's Liberty Bibberty. We know everything about this program.
Look,
right?
it's you guys have matched up more than a few times now, but this is an awesome event. I look forward to it every single year. You get down, you can feel the energy, you can feel the flow. Anytime they let us out of the cage and out of the studio, and we get to do on-site events, it's always really cool. Especially cool here, just because of the atmosphere and everything that's going on. And a little reminder, folks, the Stadium Sports Bar has Coors Light's buckets and special Coors Light merch available while supplies last. Coors Light is obviously one of our great sponsors here of the live event here at the Stadium Sports Bar and Grill up at A&A Casino and Resort. There's so much to get into, and just the overall people watching in here, it's unbeatable.
Oh, yeah.
Because you have all walks of life, all sorts of degeneracy, and you have got damn near every team possible on display. We've got Baylor fans, we've got Beaver fans, we've got Duck fans. I saw a guy walking by in a Wofford golf shirt. I mean,
pretty sure I saw a Maryland Terrapins shirt
yeah,
when I came in.
There's a guy head-to-toe Michigan gear. I mean, just suited and booted all the way out. He had the matching Nike SB1 Michigan exclusive colorway. I was like, okay, there's some dedication going on here. There's some diehards. But there's also folks who don't know a damn thing about college basketball that are they're just out here they're just out here to bet.
Well, that's the great thing about March Madness. And let me just add, I am right at home here in this casino. I love A&A. The sports book is beautiful. It's got some of the biggest screens around, if not the biggest. And, I mean, short of, like, going to Stadium Swim out in Vegas, I think I'd be pretty happy here for, like, 8-9 straight hours. And that seems to be what a lot of people are doing out here. So I feel right at home. I'm excited to hit the tables after. This is just the perfect place to be on what is the biggest gambling event of the year, even more than the Super Bowl.
Yeah, no, when you're talking about the volume and everything that kind of goes with it, it's a big deal, man. And you know, we have plenty of locations around us, but none better than this spot right here. The folks here have always taken care of us incredibly well.
Darn tootin'.
Yeah, look, I had the opportunity. They opened the hotel last year, so I got the opportunity to stay here last year during the event, and I was like, oh, this is a nice little spot.
Bougie.
It's a nice little look, man. You just it's like this little desert up here that you just kind of like, it just pops up in the trees.
It is not a mirage.
It's a little oasis because it's kind of funny. You come up the hill now they have the hotel built. It sticks out, above everything else. And as you're kind of coming up the hill, you can see the hotel just slowly start to peek up and pop out here and have a good old time. We got what looks like a throwback Shaquille O'Neal, perhaps, jersey. Oh, no, we got a Pete Maravich LSU jersey.
Way back. I love that.
And that's the thing, man. You come out here, and the fans come out, man. They come from afar to come support their teams. You can get on the sports book. You can get in on the tables. You can get in on the food. They've got all the restaurants. It's just a grand old time. And look, I'm shilling for them, but it's a good time. We are going to have a bunch of guests today. I believe Dave Bartu is going to hop on with us, and he will give us a handful of picks. He has already texted me some, of which I need to find a long break. Jeff Rust, I need you to make me a long break so I can make it over to the window here and tail old Bartu and have myself a good day. We will have a bunch of folks on tomorrow. I've got guys from No Ceilings, the NBA draft group, to come on and talk about some prospects. Kevin Pelton from ESPN, The Machine, is going to join us tomorrow afternoon. We will also talk about some NBA prospects. We'll have a little look ahead to the guys that will probably be in this tournament next year as the Nike Hoop Summit is headed to Portland in, 2 weeks, of which we will have, I believe, 5 of the top 11 players in the top class coming in for Team USA.
It's basically an NBA preview.
Yeah, the guys that are going to come through there, it is absolutely loaded. So it's a big-time focus over the next 3 weeks here in the Northwest, particularly as we start gearing up not only for the NBA draft this year and kind of how things are going to shake out in the draft lottery potentially for the Portland Trailblazers, but also what's going to end up happening and shaking out as we get into the next group, the next crop of young absolute studs coming into the world.
Oh man, it's a weird time because we're kind of, I don't know, iffy about the Portland Trailblazers and what their future might be, but at the same time, with the Hoop Summit every year, we always know that around this time of the year, we got some really good future talent coming to town to see. And tickets are usually cheap to the Hoop Summit. That's what I love. It's almost like...
Oh, yeah, you can get it for like $15.
Yeah, it's almost like going to, like, you know, the Futures game for MLB, but on steroids, because you literally know, like, half of this roster for both teams is going to be in the league. So just a fun time of year. And this is literally, like you said, Danny, the best event, I think, for us. I mean, I know some people would rival and say that, you know, the Fan Golf Classic in June might be better, but I don't know. I love A. I'm loving it here, and I'm excited, like you said, to hit the
two
tables,
totally
man.
different events, but Fan Golf Classic, that's when I get to cut loose. It's close to home. Wife drops me off in the morning, picks me up at night. I get to have a day where I can basically blank out and try to replicate ending up in a bunker like some other hosts may or may not have done.
It's okay. I can't golf, so you got me way beat.
Hey, it's all right. It's not about going out there and golf. It's about how much fun you have, and boy, do we have fun. And we'll have some more news on that coming up here soon. You know, when we unveil that, it'll be one of those things you're going to want to get in on quick because that thing fills up pretty darn fast. Speaking of filling up fast, people are starting to fill up here, and their lines are starting to build up. So if you want to get up here, get your spot, get buckled in for the day because it's basketball all day. And that's where we're going to start here is with the basketball. The Portland Trailblazers last night get a big-time win against the Memphis Grizzlies. A first half that they couldn't miss, but my God, if you told me nobody scored in the fourth quarter of that game, I would have believed you. We'll get to that next here on Danny and Dusty, 1080 to the Fan.
The best
We are indeed live from the Stadium Sports Bar and Grill at A&A Casino and Resort. It is a grand old time, and we will dive heavy into the college basketball here throughout the entire day. But we're going to start with the home team. The Portland Trailblazers last night get their first win in 11 tries against a team over 500. Despite playing better basketball, the better teams have gotten the best of them, whether it was in overtime against the New York Knicks, overtime against the Cleveland Cavaliers, not being able to close out against the Detroit Pistons and the Golden State Warriors. They get it done last night against the Memphis Grizzlies, 115-99, in a game that had a lot of ups and downs and a lot of different flow to it. But where I think you have to start is the play and production of one Deni Avdija last night. Has another monster performance, his second career game and second game this month of 30-plus points, 15-plus rebounds, and 5-plus assists. He finishes the first half with 26 points, 5 rebounds, 4 assists. He was absolutely unstoppable, as were the Blazers. They dropped 38 points in the first quarter, 33 points in the second quarter, and the Memphis Grizzlies got absolutely smacked in the mouth with a 71-point first half from the Portland Trailblazers.
They shot, I think it was at one point, over 50% from three until the second quarter when it started to drop off. But it seemed like, Duop and Deni, everybody was shooting threes and hitting them, and obviously that's not sustainable, but that's what contributed to such a nice first half. But really, Deni, the whole game, you talk about a game that was up and down, but still throughout that, even in the third quarter where it looked a little bit bleak for Portland at times, Deni, man, he showed up, and he, I feel like, has proven that Blazers got him for a steal. He is the player, I think, beyond the player that everybody thought he could be. If you look at his season averages, he's pretty much matching the production they had in Washington last season. And everybody was wondering, can Deni repeat that? Was that just a fluke? It's not a fluke, okay? He's a sure starting small forward in the NBA, and the dude can shoot, and he can take it to the hoop really hard. And he almost had a triple-double last night. He fills up the stat sheet on really good nights. So nice to see Deni having the production that he did. That's my wife's new favorite player, by the way, is Deni Avdija.
Well,
so very exciting.
I think he's a lot of people's new favorite player because there's not a lot of people around the league that are watching Deni Avdija for the Washington Wizards outside of Washington, D.C. And I can tell you the local media that was there, the fan base that is there in D.C., Deni, they love him. They love him unabashedly, and they know what he can be and what he can do. And on the season now, Deni Avdija averaging 16 points, 7 rebounds, 4 assists. He is shooting 47, 36, 78 from the field. And if you throw out that first month of the season, he's basically 17, 7, and 4. And what has been incredible is over his last 10 games, it's 22, 10, and 6 on 50, 47, 83 splits. He has been phenomenal down the stretch for them. Like I mentioned, he has had 2 monster games this month and really over the last 10 days against the Warriors and then last night against the Grizzlies. We should mention the Grizzlies without John Morant last night. Yeah. Talked to a few Grizzlies folks who kind of raised an eyebrow at John Morant having a quote-unquote hamstring injury. Are they trying to maybe bubble wrap him because he's so injury-prone? But the Grizzlies are kind of in a bit of a funk right now. And really, you look around the Western Conference, the standings right now are getting very compressed in a couple different areas.
Yeah.
The Oklahoma City Thunder have a 12.5-game lead on the number 2 Houston Rockets. They're good. And what they did last night was nasty. We talked about it yesterday. They played the 76ers, and they sat, I think there was 8 guys on the injury report. And it bears mentioning the Oklahoma City owned the Thunder's or the 76ers pick, top 6 protected.
Yes.
So they were trying to game the system there, give the 76ers a win, push them a little further up the standings. Couldn't figure that one out, though, because they still dog-walked the 76ers. But you look at teams 2 through 8. They are separated by 5 games. Now, there's really 2 groups. The Rockets, Lakers, Nuggets, Grizzlies are all separated by 2 games, 2 through 5. The Warriors, Clippers, and Timberwolves are separated by a game.
That's
Why
insane.
that matters is the Warriors are currently the 6th seed, which means they are in the playoffs and they would avoid the play-in. The Clippers and Timberwolves, both a game back, are at 7 and 8. They are in the play-in. Now, the Grizzlies are only 3 games ahead of that group, and they have been struggling as of late. They are also 2 games back of the Rockets. So you see this compression that is happening in these couple different groups. And then there's another group. There's been compression. The Phoenix Suns have surpassed, because of a tiebreaker, the Dallas Mavericks for the play-in. Last night, the Phoenix Suns pull off a win. The Dallas Mavericks pull a victory out of the jaws, or pull a defeat out of the jaws of victory.
Shocked and
a
awed.
4-point lead with 40 seconds remaining. The Indiana Pacers go to the free throw line, knock down the free throw, get a steal after the inbounds, an egregious turnover from Max Christie. Bing, 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 ball bounces around. They hit the three and take the lead. I couldn't believe what I saw, but the machinations around the NBA have manifested as such. With the Trailblazers getting a win against the Grizzlies last night, the math is mathing. The math was not mathing a week ago for the Blazers to make the play-in. It is now mathing.
It's really close.
The Portland Trailblazers, as it sits this morning, are 2 games out of the play-in. Like I have said, I personally, if I was running the team, I would rather see them go to the lottery odds, get to that, probably the 8th pick or 8th best odds, I should say, which would give you a better than a 25% chance at a potential top 4 pick.
Yeah.
The number 1 pick odds are very slim at that point in time.
Yeah.
Now, when you get up there, you're closer to a 6 or 9. But again, it's still very small. What you're looking at is hopefully getting into the top 4 of the NBA draft, and because that means the top 5 is where the goods are in this draft. That's always kind of true. Obviously, there's a drop-off after Cooper Flagg, but after that, it's Dylan Harper, and then it's a group of, Ace Bailey, VJ Edgecombe, Kasparas Yakshonis, and Trey Johnson of Texas, who we'll get to them here in a little bit. They're no longer playing. But the Portland Trailblazers get a win against a team above 500, and now they take on the Denver Nuggets on Friday. Then they've got the Cleveland Cavaliers and Boston Celtics. If they're going to have a chance at the play-in, they need to get one of these 3 games. They need to get a couple that they're not supposed to get. They got one of those last night against the Memphis Grizzlies. Even without John Morant, they still have Desmond Bane. They still have Jaren Jackson. They still have Vince Williams. They still have Santi Aldama. They still have a ton of depth. It was a good win for the Portland Trailblazers last night. And coming out of that, it was a very impressive first half. It was a very impressive start to the second, third, and fourth quarters. But my God, 29 combined points in the fourth quarter of that game between the Grizzlies and Blazers. The Grizzlies hit 1 shot in the first 11 minutes and I think 16 seconds of the fourth quarter. They could not get anything done.
I think the Blazers went on like a 20-4 run, or at some point in the third into the fourth. It was pretty insane.
I mean, the level of chippiness and nastiness that kind of came out of that game, this Blazers identity being rooted in defense is becoming real.
Well, you talk about a guy like Toumani Camara, and then on top of, the praise for Denny Avdia to start this segment, I think the Blazers can officially say they have 2 of the most undervalued talents in the NBA on both sides of the floor. Is Toumani consistently a scorer? No, but he can get to the hoop, and he's had a couple of highlight dunks in the last week and a half, so people know who Toumani Camara is now on the offensive end. So, if you're talking about building a team like you have to in Portland, where essentially you depend on draft success and you depend on trades to get this team to where you need it to be, it's something hugely positive for the future that you've got 2 very undervalued around the NBA guys where they're just getting paid nothing compared to what the production that they're giving you is per night. Now, when it comes to the Blazers' playoff position, I guess it's nice to see them out of the play-in by 2 games. I understand that you also don't think that they should be going for this. I don't either. I know that the players, probably it would make them feel a lot better and make them...
It's not a probably. It's a real thing.
Make them feel like they have something to accomplish.
Look, Chauncey Billups in the post-game press conference last night, we don't look at the standings. It's the game in front of us, the game in front of us. It's coach speak. It's everything that kind of goes with it. But it's what he's preaching. But no, he is preaching that. The game in front of you, the game in front of you. If you win games, if you take care of business, good things will happen.
Exactly. They're doing that to make good things happen, not to tank and get a spot higher in the draft. And that's where I think the problem lies, and the question is worth asking, Danny. What does this plan accomplish for you? If eventually, you've already made a mistake holding off trading Jeremy Grant. You're going to trade him at some point in the next year when his contract's expiring, or 2 possibly, if you still want to do that with Anthony Simons.
how valuable is this play-in to the Blazers? It doesn't seem like they're going to get over the Sacramento Kings. There's 12 games to play, and they would have to beat the Kings in record to lose their pick to the Chicago Bulls. So that's not going to happen, right? That would be very unlikely.
It's a step further than that, because I've seen a few people text this in on the fan text line. Making the play-in would be bad because they would lose their pick. They would not lose their pick by virtue of making the play-in.
No, it's the
you actually have to make the top 8. So if the Blazers, let's say they finish 10th, because I mean 9th is still even mathematically on the table. It would be difficult, but either way they're going to be 9 or 10 if they make it in the play-in, which means they would have to win both play-in games. Okay. So they'd have to beat the if they're the 10, they'd be the 9, and then they'd have to play the winner of the other bracket, or the loser of the other bracket.
But there is still a small possibility they could lose out on their draft pick, but not guaranteed making the play-in. Okay.
So they would have to actually win 2 games to get into the actual playoffs to lose that draft pick that is owed to Chicago all the way out until 2027. It is lottery protected until 2027. It is a deal that will seemingly haunt this franchise forever.
I mean, and if they say they give that pick up, you're missing out on a guy like we were just talking with boss man Jeff Austin before, like Maxime Renault, like from Stanford. There's a guy maybe in the early 20s or lower teens that would be a possibly valuable piece for your team going forward. But if you miss out on that, then what do you do? And do you just, write this play-in off as like, well, experience for the guys and something to build on? This isn't an elite NBA team as it stands. It's a good core, but they need to build, and they won't be able to build if they make this play-in.
So here's the crazy thing about all of this. And again, I'm caveating with this. My belief is that they should steer for that
for sure.
Best possible odds at this point in time. I was doing the math on this last night. For them to make the play-in, they're probably going to have to get to 39 wins.
Yeah.
Okay. They are currently sitting at 31. Okay. Now,
their schedule's hard.
It's not as the Suns have the toughest schedule in the NBA remaining. It is brutal. But think about this, not even just making the play-in. If I told you this team at the beginning of the season was going to win 39 games, how crazy would that sound to you?
I would have been shocked and told you need to go have a beer and maybe figure some things out. I would have been unbelievably...
I mean, that's bonkers. No. And when you take a step back, and again, this is not me trying to polish the turd, you would be 2 games under 500.
Yep.
For a team that was projected to win 21.5 games, and I thought they would barely squeak over that. I've stood by that. I did not think this team was good, and by God were they not good to start this season. They were bad. And they came into this season with the intention of being bad. That was a thing that everybody was talking about. We aren't charting wins and losses. It's about development. Thing is, they've developed.
Yep.
Scoot has developed. Denny's developed. Tua's developed. Shaden's developed. Donovan's developed. I mean, even the veterans have developed. They're a better than a bad team. They are almost a good average team.
Yeah.
And if they finish with that, they will have earned it. And again, I don't think that's necessarily the path that I would go down. But if they get to 39 wins, they will have earned it.
I agree.
And it's such an insane thing to think about coming out of the gate. Just, I cannot wrap my head around that. Like that whole deal. Everything about that is just kind of crazy when you kind of take a step back. Well, let's pivot to the NCAA tournament because we got some massive news that has a huge implication for the number 1 overall seed Duke Blue Devils. Cooper Flagg back? We'll get to that first. Here's the Big Kuna with the Sports Center update.
I hear they got some tasty burgers.
Now, from the George McCoy at Warren Allen Sports Desk, a Sports Center update on 1080 The Fan.
This update brought to you by Crunch Fitness. Memberships as low as $9.99 per month. Find your Crunch time in Portland, Vancouver, and online at crunch.com. First on The Fan, the first round of the NCAA tournament is here and just gone final. 3-seed Wisconsin finishing off 14-seed Montana by a final score of 85-66. 11 and a half minutes left in the second half on TBS. Number 1 Houston having very little trouble with 16-seed SIU Edwardsville. That one is 61-30. 6:52 left in the first half on CBS, and number 1 seed Auburn leading 16-seed Alabama State 28-20. And early on in the first half on True TV, 12-seed McNeese and 5-seed Clemson. The Tigers, Clemson leading now 4 8-2. Some games already gone final. 9-seed Creighton shooting over 57% from the field and upsets 8-seed Louisville 89-75, and 4-seed Purdue just finished off 13-seed High Point 75-63. The Trailblazers, winners of their last 3 games, they host Nikola Jokic and the Nuggets tomorrow night. Portland 31-39 on the season, just 2 games out of the final play-in spot. More sports scores and stories in 30 minutes. I'm Jeff Russ from the George McCoy at Warren Allen Sports Desk. Hurt and missing work, insurance companies acting like jerks? Don't call your mom. Call George McCoy at warrenallen.com.
Your favorite fan shows are on YouTube. Mash the subscribe button and like us for live streaming video and 1080 The Fan on demand.
We are indeed live from the Stadium Sports Bar and Grill here at A&A Resort and Casino. It is a grand old time. The covering machines are already out. Wisconsin has dispatched Montana covering a 16.5-point spread. This is going to be a very chalky tournament, I feel. I say that, and maybe Alabama State or McNeese State springs a massive upset. Look, Auburn's playing Alabama State. It's still the state of Alabama, ladies and gentlemen. I'm sure there's some real hatred there, and that would break a lot of brackets because I know a lot of folks love Auburn, and they have been a monster this year.
I picked Auburn, and Alabama State coming off of that play-in win. Anything's possible, right?
Look, that's the beauty of this time of year is the upsets are what make the tournament, the Cinderella stories. But the biggest storyline in college basketball, National Player of the Year, first-team All-American, and now returning to play because he is pain-free. This started to circulate yesterday afternoon. We mentioned it as we were wrapping up the show with Dusty. Cooper Flagg playing for Duke in the opening round after suffering an ankle injury that kept him out of the majority of the ACC tournament. He is expected to be fully healthy against Mount St. Mary's Friday's action. Woo!
I mean, do they
Doggy.
really need him? For the opening game.
They don't, but he's got that dog in him. The dog in him per 36 is through the roof. I was talking to some NBA executives, some scouts, and some the big-time draft folks over the past 3 days in the lead-up for the tournament, trying to get some intel on folks and, who to watch, how to watch, what are some things I should be looking for. And everybody kept telling me, don't be surprised if Cooper Flagg goes game 2. Yesterday afternoon, word started to circulate. Cooper Flagg might go game 1, which if you saw the injury, you're like, that man is out for 3 months.
It looked like a bad roll.
It looked like a bad roll. It's exactly what it was. But instead, he's Gumby. And now he has the opportunity to do something no one has done beyond Anthony Davis, which is win National Player of the Year as a freshman, be the number 1 overall pick, and lead his team to a national title. Cooper Flagg's play this year has exceeded expectations across the board. He came in with all the pomp, all the circumstance, all the hype, and he has surpassed it all. He is leading Duke in every counting metric. Points, rebounds, steals, assists, blocks. He is that dude. He now has the opportunity to be special. Do something that only one other guy has done, in Anthony Davis. And it is no longer is Cooper Flagg the number 1 overall pick. Where does he sit in the pantheon of number 1 overall picks in modern day basketball? You are talking about, like, when I talk to executives, basically for the last 20 years.
Yeah.
So take LeBron out of this.
Okay.
The only guys that people are saying that he's not competing with are the aforementioned Anthony Davis and Victor Wembanyama.
I mean, we just had this generational talent in Victor Wembanyama, and you're saying basically 2 years later we're going to have another one.
And generational talent gets tossed around far too often.
But this is not an Anthony, Bennett situation here. This
God,
is
no.
a freaking... You can't call Cooper a sure thing, but
I
you
will.
see all the pieces there.
And look, I know I have my fun with my hyperbole, but my draft analysis stuff, I try to stick to stuff as much as I can.
Yeah.
And outside of Victor Wembanyama, over the last 20 years, Anthony Davis is the only player that I have scouted where I have thought this guy is a no-doubt, surefire all-star with the potential to be all-NBA, to be an all-timer, a quote-unquote generational talent. And forget Duke and for what it means for them. Look, I am so locked in. Like, I want to see him succeed.
Yeah.
He has just got the way he plays the game. I love it. He is a competitor. He is a monster. He will do whatever is necessary to win. And I want everybody to have, like, when he got hurt, I was like, forget this, like, the national title stuff. Like, I was just bummed because he wasn't going to have the opportunity to go out there and play basketball and let everybody see how good he is. When you, like, I've said this before, my favorite thing about the NBA is guys putting it together and figuring it out. Like those first 4 years. And that starts with the opportunity going into the league. Yeah. And being robbed of that, I was bummed out for him. I was like, man, this is going to suck. He's not going to get to play. And now is he not only going to get to play, everybody's talking about, like, he's ready to go.
I mean, Duke kind of turned it around. You were kind of looking at questions surrounding that team without him, without Malik Brown. They win the ACC tournament anyways. I think Kid Proctor stepped up during that stretch of games, so you know that they don't need Cooper Flagg. So yeah, it's kind of not really worth pointing out that like Duke could possibly win the tournament without him. But the fact that we get to see him, I think the betting line shifted as soon as they announced that he was pain-free, from Auburn being the betting favorite to now Duke being closer to like plus 200, plus 275, at least before the tournament started, to be the betting favorite. And that was even after we had heard on Sunday the selection committee was already informed that Cooper Flagg was going to be available. We just didn't know when. But yeah, you're right, Danny. It is so cool that we get to see, potentially a full tournament with Cooper Flagg at the helm, because even though he has the potential to make 10, 15 plus $1 million coming back to college next season, like unquestionably, I think this will be the last year we see Cooper, the only year we see him at Duke.
At the top of the next hour, we will dive into some games that have gone final, some games that are getting close. But there's a massive, massive, massive deal in the NBA. Reports are out. The Boston Celtics have broken the North American sports record for a valuation for a team. It is a new era in Boston as the Celtics have been sold. What does that mean for the NBA at large, and what does it mean for the Northwest? We'll get to that next year on Danny Dusty, Danny the Fan.
Hello, sports.
That's right, ladies and gentlemen. We are at the Stadium Sports Bar and Grill up at A-Lene, and the madness is madnessing.
Oh, it's fun.
Alabama State to the free throw line with the potential to tie this game up at 32. Misses the front end, 31-32. Auburn right now with just a minute and a half to go in the first half. Auburn has just gone ice cold, and boy, howdy, would that break some brackets if this is the game that holds tight.
I just want to say giant middle finger to the 16 or 17 people across the country that picked Alabama State to upset Auburn on their brackets, because it wasn't many.
No, not only that, there's those people out there that try to pick the worst brackets possible.
Yeah.
And, those are the ones that are going to stumble into this right now if this game remains tight.
That's a thing?
Oh, yeah, there's
a whole Raz event for, like, March Madness brackets? I had no idea.
Oh, yeah, and then you have the worst bracket possible, which actually is a lot harder than you think it is because typically there's so many upsets. But this year, it can get pretty chalky. But let's get to the business of the NBA, because some massive news that will reverberate through the NBA has reportedly gone official. A group led by Bill Chisholm, the managing partner at Symphony Technology Group, has agreed to purchase the Celtics of Boston for a valuation of $6.1 billion.
Where's the Price is Right award horn when they win like $10,000? Like, whoop, whoop. That's what should be going off right now.
I mean, it is absolutely bonkers, but it's not if you've been following along as we've been talking about this really for the past 6 months.
Over $1.2 billion.
That's about right. So when this stuff first started to circulate, when I was in Summer League last year, I talked to a couple different governors, and the valuations, they're like, they'll be at least 4.5 at bare minimum. It'll probably get to 5. And then as I started talking to people throughout the season, they're like, it's going to get to 6, man. It's going to get to 6. And I was sitting there like, $6 billion for an NBA franchise. This breaks the record for North American sports. The Boston Celtics just sold for more than the Washington Commanders.
By $50 million, exactly. It's a crazy number.
An NBA franchise. Now, it's the second most valuable NBA franchise.
You maybe put the Golden State Warriors and the Knicks above
Lakers.
them? No?
Lakers are the most valuable franchise in the league, and it's...
I read Golden State could be closer to like a $9 or $10 billion valuation because of their recent success.
It also has to do with the arena and everything that goes around it, but there's more of a bubble around that because of lack of consistent performance. We'll put it that way.
But Golden State does have great arena economics as opposed to the Celtics, who do not own theirs. The Bruins do.
Exactly, and that is one of the... There have been a couple different touch points as it pertains to the sale of the Boston Celtics. There were a couple different ownership groups that were rumored, and we'll go with that, to be after the Boston Celtics.
Yeah.
And it became very clear 3 months ago that the Celtics were going to go for $6 billion. And there was talk of about $6.5 billion was the highest it was going to get to.
Thanks.
Now, there were multiple groups that were interested. The issue with this, and why, if you kind of follow along the business of sports, there was talk, well, I want to say 2 or 3 weeks ago, about one group getting out of it and another group getting in. And part of that back and forth has to do with the new owner of the Celtics is going to have basically a $400 to $500 million luxury tax bill.
Yep.
They're going to be without assets in everybody's contracts. Derek White, Drew Holiday, Jason Tatum, Jaylen Brown, Kristaps Porzingis. They're all going to be on their new deals. They're going to be the most expensive team in NBA history. You're not going to have all of your picks. You're not going to have assets that are easily tradable under the new guise of the CBA and the second apron. So the Gruspecks are sitting there going, the current ownership group, the Gruspec family, they want to get one more title out of this and then wipe their hands of it and be out of it because it's getting too expensive for them.
Well, and go finish. I was just going to say there's an interesting point, too, that Gruspec's going to be allowed to keep control of the team, or at least be the governor of the team until, 27, 28?
Yep.
And then Chisholm, the new, supposedly encyclopedic knowledge of a fan of the Boston Celtics, leader of this equity firm, will then take over.
And that's the thing, is that they wanted they want to be able to cash out because
smart move.
Because here's the thing. The new ownership group is going to go, no. You're not going to have all the championship equity, reap all the championship benefits, all the stuff that comes with it, and not have to pay those luxury tax bills. You're going to foot that bill.
Yeah.
You're going to deal with it. If we're going to take over this franchise, we're not going to take over it as it's at the very peak and then not get anything out of it. So you want the championship equity? You foot the bill for the next couple of years.
Well, and how much did they buy the initial organization for? Right around $320 million.
$360 million in 2002.
I mean, that's insane to think that over a 20-year period, it's essentially gone up 200,000% or 2,000, whatever the number is.
Yeah.
I can't put my decimal in the correct spot at this point, but the amount of money that they're now told that they can cash out with, and as you say, comparable to an NFL franchise, not another NBA franchise, but we're setting the record now for an NBA franchise, comparing them to the league that makes the most money out of anybody. Now, of course, the NBA just signed that $76 billion TV deal, so it makes a difference. But I do think that this was a good point for the current Celtics owners to cash out. We're probably going to see a lot more NBA teams doing so. Of course, we've heard about, the rumors whenever Jody Allen, she has to sell the Portland Trail Blazers, but the initial purchase price, for instance, for Paul Allen in the late 80s, early 90s was $70 million. They're going to get around $2+ billion for the Portland Trail Blazers, so I wouldn't be surprised if the Celtics kind of start to lead off a cavalcade of teams doing this.
It's going to be very interesting to see what this means league-wide now, because the worst-kept secret in the NBA is expansion, and everybody was waiting to see what the Celtics sold for.
This was the shoe to drop.
And now that this is taken care of, expansion is the next thing on the docket.
Okay.
And Las Vegas and Seattle are sitting there just frothing at the mouth to get this done. And the ownership groups, Fenway Sports Group, is a team that has long been rumored to be vested in the Las Vegas franchise.
Yeah.
The ownership group involved with the Seattle Kraken are a group that is very interested in bringing basketball back to Seattle. These are the dominoes that need to fall in order for the league to expand, to move those two teams into the West, and a team in the Western Conference to move to the East. And very likely in discussions that I have had and the things that I have heard is that one of three teams, Minnesota, Memphis, or New Orleans, they are basically going to have a scene out of Batman where they drop a pool stick down in there, break it in half, and the winner gets to go to the East. Because it's not that they want to stay in the West. They're fighting to go to the East.
Exactly.
It's a lot easier to be successful in that conference, and it's a lot more viable. And you think about those ownership groups. Memphis is the newer, or I shouldn't say the newer one now, because A-Rod and Lowry have successfully won their arbitration and will take control of the Timberwolves. But there's a little bit of noise around them not having the capital and being a team that is willing to spend at an insane level. We know the New Orleans Pelicans are not going to spend.
Exactly.
The Benson family is not a team that is out there throwing money hand over fist in New Orleans. You move to the East, you can be a bit more successful in the East while being a less expensive franchise. That wouldn't surprise me. I think that's probably a way that it would go.
Yeah.
But Minnesota is so close to those central teams, Chicago, Indiana, like it makes a lot of sense to move Minnesota
Aren't
to
the
the Eastern
Blazers still in
Conference.
the same division with them? That is so stupid. It is 2025.
And that's the other thing is that divisions don't really matter in basketball anymore.
They don't.
It will cut down on travel significantly for the Portland Trail Blazers. They will no longer be an outpost franchise further away from anybody. The closest team to them being the Sacramento Kings. Adding Las Vegas and Seattle adds two more teams, cuts down on travel drastically. You will most certainly see a redrawing of divisions that make more sense, so that while divisions don't matter per se, you still have those 4 division games, and that will cut down on travel drastically because you will probably see Seattle in the same division. You will see Sacramento, and then how they slice up
Cali, Las Vegas,
how they slice up that pie. Does it become the kind of a Pacific Coast Conference again, where Seattle, Portland, Sacramento, Golden State, and then one or both of the LA teams?
I mean, we already did this with the Blazers and the Vancouver Grizzlies and Seattle Supersonics back in the late 90s, so it's probably going to be something like that. I can't quite remember who was all in that division, but you're probably looking at them, maybe the Jazz, and maybe the Vegas team, and then you keep Cali kind of closer to going towards like Texas more often because they've got the geographical advantage there. So
it's going to be interesting to kind of see how that gets broken up, and that'll also be factored in when you're talking about which team moves to the East.
Yeah.
So
that's a good point.
This is the first shoe to drop, then expansion, and I know everybody's banging the drum. Sell the team, Jody. Look, if it's going to happen, and it's required to by the will. The timeline is undisclosed. They've already put out a public statement. It could take 15 years to go through it all. If you're looking at that, that's probably a thing that you're talking about expansion and expansion rights, because what happens with expansion rights is that is not part of BRI or basketball-related income. That is not money that is shared with the players. That is divvied up among the owners. So what this does is this sounds like, from initial texts and back and forth with people that I know, expansion rights, just the right to buy a team, could be $5 billion. And if there's two teams, you're talking about anywhere between $10 and $12 billion being immediately dispersed among the other 30 NBA franchises.
$5 billion just to get in. That's the buy-in price to the NBA.
To get in the league.
I mean, I understand the recent value of the Celtics and then the contract with the ESPN and everybody and NBC.
And that's,
for the recent
that's
TV
part
rights.
of it is they're going to make these teams pony up because there's so much money in those TV rights deals, and that's guaranteed money every single year in the TV rights deal. And if they're going to take, another chunk of that pie and give that to these teams, they need the upfront money to justify and make this make sense. Otherwise, it is a losing venture for them.
I'm going to be interested to see if there's a peak point or if there's a fall off, because I do believe we're going to see a bunch of teams sell, but then at some point, is the get-in price going to be too big? There are only so many billionaires around the world, Danny. What we got, like 1,000, 1,500? I don't think. I mean, I'm sure you can find another that wants an NBA team, but I don't think they all want to make stupid purchases. And like, for instance, the Celtics was reportedly bought by a guy who is from Georgetown, Massachusetts. He owns a private equity firm. He lives in California. It's interesting to see if it's like the actual private equity firm that's handing out the money to buy the team, but then he's going to be running it like it's kind of like his plaything, or if, this is just a purchase for the company. But I'm interested to see at some point if billionaires are going to want to make this purchase, because yes, there's a lot of money in this, but $5 billion, that's a lot of money too.
And that opens the other, weirdness that is out there with, the global investment firms like the Saudi PIF and the groundswell that is a competing basketball league, which maybe we'll talk about today. We'll find a way to talk about it in the coming weeks. But the live golfing of the NBA could be on the horizon. There's a lot of discussion around that. But coming up in hour number 2, we will dive into all of the college basketball. We have one literal upset in the sense of a 9 seed upsetting an 8 seed, but we'll dive into the scores, everything we know so far, and really hit the college basketball, which is what everyone is down here at the Stadium Sportsbook Bar and Grill at A&A Casino and Resort. We'll do that next year on Danny Dusty, 10 the Fan.
Hey, it's Suk, and guys,
the George McCoy at Warren Allen Sports Desk. A Sports Center update on 1080 The Fan.
Jeff Rust with your Sports Center update. First on The Fan, the first round of the NCAA tournament is underway. Just hit the half. Number 1 Auburn opening up a lead a little bit over number 16 seed Alabama State. That's a 41-31 game at the half. And we got about 4:45 left in the first half on True TV. 12 seed McNeese giving 5 seed Clemson everything they can handle. McNeese with a 25-11 lead. And getting ready on TNT, you've got number 11 VCU and number 6 BYU. Some finals from earlier. 9 seed Creighton shooting over 57% from the field. They upset 8 seed Louisville 89-75. 4 seed Purdue over 13 seed High Point 75-63. 3rd seed Wisconsin had little trouble with 14 seed Montana. That final was 85-66. And number 16 seed SIU Edwardsville, they couldn't put anything together against number 1 Houston. They fell 78-40. Blazers are winners of their last 3 games. They host Nikola Jokic and the Nuggets tomorrow night. The Blazers are 31-39 on the season, just 2 games out of the final play-in spot. More sports scores and stories in 30 minutes. I'm Jeff Rust from the George McCoy at Warren Allen Sports Desk. Hurt and missing work, insurance companies acting like jerks. Don't call your mom. Call George McCoy at warrenallen.com.
The ultimate basketball party, Fan Madness, is back. March 20th and 21st at the Stadium Sports Bar at A&A Sportsbook. More info at 1080thefan.com. It's the best basketball party anywhere.
I think Biddle will be an equalizer because of how well he's been playing lately. But when Oregon is at their best, they are knocking down threes.
Live from the Stadium Sports Bar at A&A Sportsbook, George McCoy at Warren Allen Attorneys at Law presents a Fan Madness edition of Danny and Dusty. Hurt and missing work? Insurance companies acting like jerks? Don't call your mom. Call George McCoy at warrenallen.com. A&A, make every buzzer beater, bracket buster, and Cinderella run mean more at A&A Sportsbook. Fan Madness is also brought to you by Video Only, where you always get the best deals on top-rated brands of TVs and home theater, and by Coors Light, the world's most refreshing beer. Enjoy responsibly. Fan Madness from A&A on 1080 The Fan.
Danny and Dusty here. Jordan Schultz in for Dusty here. Dusty is hanging out in the great country of Mexico.
Good to be in with you, man. Happy March Madness to everybody. It is, can I just say, it is so much fun to be here.
It is awesome to be here. The Stadium Sports Bar and Grill, the sports book here at the A&A Casino and Resort. It is a fantastic time. We are going to be joined by the man, the myth, the legend, Dave Bartu here in just a little bit. He will give you all of the things you need to know so that you can come down here and place your wagers and come out ahead. We need to dive into the college basketball right now because we have a couple different games that have gone final.
Thanks, man.
Already.
Thank you.
The favorites have taken care of business, as it were, across the board, except for one. Creighton, the 9 seed, has upset. I don't really know if you call it an upset, but they have upset Louisville, and Louisville was a team I know a lot of people picked.
Yeah.
They've got some juice. If you listen when we were talking about some of the games yesterday, I was riding Creighton pretty hard. Anytime you have a 7-foot upperclassman with ball skills in the NCAA tournament, that matters, ladies and gentlemen. And Ryan Kalkbrenner did deliver 14.6 rebounds, 4 blocks. They take care of Louisville, and they give us our first upset of the tournament. However, as we go to halftime, it was looking a little bit dicey there for Auburn. It was 31-32 with 1:37 to go in the first half. They go on a 9-point run.
Turned it on.
To head to the half up 41-31 over Alabama State. However, upset alert is popping off here as Clemson is down 14. The 5 seed Tigers down to McNeese State 25-11.
I am a huge McNeese State fan. I put them in my Sweet 16, so let's go, baby.
Ooh, that's a spicy one. McNeese State head coach Will Wade heading to North Carolina State here after the tournament. One of the coaching hires that was already made. Number 6 seed BYU with NBA prospect Yegor Demin is underway against VCU. They are down 1 to VCU, the 11 seed VCU, 5-4.
That was another closer spread. I think that was like BYU was only favored by 3.5 in that one, and Creighton was only a 2.5-point underdog in their win with Kalkbrenner. So
yeah, there's some tight spreads in here. There's also some big ones. St. John's is up to 18.5 against Omaha in their spread. The tighter spread of the big seed matchups, top 5 seed matchup, Michigan is only a 2.5-point favorite against UC San Diego tonight. Texas Tech is a 15.5-point favorite over UNC Wilmington. That is a 3-14 matchup. Some of the big-time favorites taking care of business early on. Houston covered their 16.5-point line against SIU Edwardsville. They were up 52-24 at the half. That thing was taken care of early. They finished 78-40. And I know we have a bunch of Montana Grizz alum fans, supporters out in the region. However, they were, after keeping it tight in the first half, they went in down 32-40. They get smacked in the second half. Wisconsin covers their line 85-66. Nothing to do there. And despite it being a bit of a closer game with Purdue, Purdue handles business. Number 4, Purdue over number 13, High Point, 75-63.
Yeah, first 10 minutes of that one, I think they were only, I don't think the High Point got up, but they were only down by a point or two at one point. So, and that was actually a bigger spread. Kind of surprising that Purdue faltered a little bit in that. But it makes you wonder later on, next round going into the Sweet 16, if you did pick them to win this game, will they even last to the 16 after a somewhat paltry performance against a much more inferior team, Danny?
Yeah, no, you just take a look around. Bar 2 sent me a couple here. Auburn, Alabama State, live total second half. Pass it on the 77.5. The Auburn 45.5. Pass it on that. Alabama State 32.5. Play the over.
Okay.
It was down to 31.5. He said, go ahead and play the over on that.
Total points. Okay.
Yeah, it's look, man. This is what you get into. Is you got your game spreads. You've got your straight up picks. But the live bets, that's what you see the crowd here, both in the tournament seats here where you can post up, get yourself, for $50, you can get your chair all day, a big old comfy chair.
Oh, it looks
Comes
glorious.
with some chips, a dog, a beer, and you can have yourself a grand old time.
I need to ask where they bought these so we can get them either at the fan studios or like we can just
At
buy
home?
them for our home.
Yeah,
exactly.
no, I definitely would not mind one of these in the office back home. That is for certain. And as a reminder, we are down here at the Stadium Sports Bar and Grill at the Alien Resort and Casino.
Fan personality Patrick Harris walking through.
Hey, there we go. P. Harris in the building. Isaac and Suk, I'm sure, will stumble in here a little earlier than usual so they can get their game going on, and we'll have some fun with that. But coming up next, we are going to go to the Matrix. Dave Bartu, I believe, is going to join us next. I'm still trying to make sure we can get him on the phone here. But if not, we will pivot back here to some NCAA coverage. But we will hopefully be joined by Dave Bartu, and we will dive into some live lines and have some fun here at the Stadium Sports Bar and Grill. And, we're just getting started. Danny Dusty.
It's a crazy one.
Danny the Fan.
Primetime owns the water cooler.
Ladies and gentlemen, drop what you're doing and lock in. We are joined by the Matrix himself, Dave Bartoo, hopping on the show on the day of days here as the college basketball is basketballing very hard. Bartoo, how you doing, brother?
Dude, Merry Christmas. I swear, I watch more college basketball in the next 4 days than I focus on college football during the entire damn season. It is. I'm still in my jammies. I'm just waiting for somebody to hand me a Bloody Mary.
Make it a double, Dave.
Oh, yeah. Just drink my breakfast, lunch, and dinner. That's all I need to do for 4 days.
Hell yeah. Which you can do at the Stadium Sports Bar and Grill down here at the ALNA Resort and Casino. Bartoo, we only had the one upset, and the big dogs mostly covered across the board. What do you got for us in the live action right now?
You know something. In terms of upsets coming down the pipe, it just tipped off. We got VCU and BYU. Mm-hmm. Okay, and the reason I circled this, I went back over the last 3 years, and nearly 80% of all the upsets, quote unquote, in the first round have a pattern, and it's by performance. Number one, you need a good team to win, right? In VCU, we got a number 6 scoring efficiency. Total, we got a 32 offense, we got a number 9 defense. We got a really good non-power team, right? And then you need to have a favored team that is not good at something, right? They're unbalanced. And over 80% of the ones that lose have an offense or a defense that is outside my 150 in scoring efficiency. BYU, 194 in defensive scoring efficiency. So they have a major hole, and they are going up against a team that is balanced on both sides of the ball. Look, it's not a big spread. It's 3.5, but it is still an upset if it happens. And this is the first one that I had circled on the day, was BYU losing to VCU. I think the rest of the day, after you guys get off the air, I think it's going to go like nuts. When it goes, we're talking Pac-12 after dark level. When it really kicks in, because I'm looking down my chart and I see 4, borderline 5 teams that could get upset this evening.
See, now you said VCU, and I'm going to show this to Schultze, so you know I'm not joking. VCU is one of my upset picks in the first round, and I looked at exactly the same thing that you did. And having you reinforce that, I'm like, all right, let's go. I need that long break so I can wander over to the book here real quick and make sure I take care of this. Taking a look at this tournament, the big news that came out, and it's going to have some consequences, is Cooper Flagg's availability, not only for the tournament, but in Game 1. It shifted some big-time lines for them, not only being the title winner, but moving some other guys down. When you look at that kind of impact, that kind of player, and what he means not only to that team, but to college basketball, what does that do when you start taking a look at the teams that can make the Elite Eight, Final Four, and kind of how that changes things?
Oh, right. So is Flagg in? Is he playing?
Flagg is supposed to be available to play tomorrow against Mount St. Mary's.
And pain-free.
Yeah, no, I wouldn't even play him. But look, if he's 100% healthy, I am not betting against Duke winning at all.
Yeah.
There's just no way. You're talking about the team with the number 1 scoring efficiency in college basketball since January 1st. Okay? There isn't another D1 team, a power team, inside the top 20 since January 1. It's all little schools, right? So as great as the SEC is, they don't have great top 10 offenses. Last year, our championship game, number 2 UConn, number 4 Purdue. We had great, efficient offenses, and so Duke is number 1. They're also number 8 in scoring efficiency defense. They are the only team in the entire tournament that's a power conference that is top 40 in offense and in defense. That's it. Only Duke. So between Duke and everybody else, boom, there is a massive gap. But I figured when Flagg went out, now it becomes more wide open. If they're 100% healthy going into the Sweet 16, where else are you going to put your money, dude? Seriously.
You do mention, as soon as it was announced that Cooper was fully healthy, the betting lines jumped to make Duke the favorite, I think, at around plus 200 to plus 275, depending on the book that you got it at. Dave, let's look, though, not only at number 1 seeded Duke, but all the other 1s and 2s. Obviously, you could say maybe Auburn still has a chance to lose right now, but which 1 or 2 seed is the most vulnerable for an early round upset, in your opinion?
Okay, so the 1 or 2 seed. So let's take a look at, like I said, I'm looking for teams that are vulnerable because they're not balanced on both sides of the ball. Okay? I think we would agree Auburn is, because they've lost 3 out of 4. They're struggling out of the gate. They're going to win this game. Okay? Then they're going to get Creighton. And they should have there's no other offense in the top 100 in their bracket once they get past Creighton. Okay? If they get through this, the only other good offensive left is North Carolina. All right? So Auburn, just because of their history in the last few games, I think is vulnerable. Houston, I don't see it. They're very, very balanced, and that bracket sucks. I mean, there isn't a good team in that bracket. Clemson's unbalanced. Purdue, Illinois, Kentucky, Tennessee, none of them, right? So I don't think Houston has an issue. If I was going to circle 1, it would be Alabama when they get to Wisconsin, because Alabama has a top 25 offense, but their defense is 243rd. They don't have a defense. And if the offense doesn't show up, Wisconsin has we've seen it. We've seen Wisconsin has the ability to put up points and play good defense. So I think that team is vulnerable. But if I am fading one team that is a 1 or 2 seed, it is St. John's. Right now, I have them wiped off of every single one of my brackets before the Sweet 16. Right? You know, I was texting Roth earlier. I'm like, dude, Kansas is going to beat St. John's. And he's like, no way. And I'm like, no, I don't really believe it. But you know something? Defense doesn't win national title. It may be an anomaly. Maybe St. John's makes the run, right? But when you look at the last 3 years of Elite 8 games, the better offensive team to start the tournament in my numbers has won 11 of 12 Elite 8 games. Offense wins in men's basketball in college. Defense wins titles in the NFL. Offense wins titles. So if you're going to hire a head coach, hire an offensive guy. And why does this mean for St. John's? St. John's is number 1 in defensive scoring efficiency, and I don't care because their offense is 194th in the country. 194th, okay? I mean, we're talking to relate it to Duck fans and people watching the Ducks. The Ducks are 161st. St. John's is significantly less efficient on offense than even Oregon, okay? Yeah. So if I'm going to eliminate one, which I have done in my brackets, to me, it is St. John's. Get out of here.
Bartu, I want to ask you, you made a little bit of a football crossover there, and I want to know if as far as the data that you have and that you're relying on for this, how much, because this is something that was present in college football as well, how much has the age of college basketball rosters, is there as much of an indicator, is there as much of a correlation with these older rosters in success as there was in college football, or is that not quite as straight a line as it was in football?
Yeah, it's like I said, it's much tougher in basketball. You only got 5 guys, right? And height and weights are very, very balanced, and so you don't have a consolidation of elite athletes at the football or at the basketball level like you have at the football level, because of the height and strength and the weight ratio. So basketball to me is much tougher to model out because teams have a chance and games can. I mean, look at that Creighton game, right? I mean, we're watching it, and in less than 3 minutes, Louisville misses 5 shots. Creighton gets all the loose balls, puts up 7 shots, hits 5 threes in a row, and the game's over. That's it, right? And that can happen anytime. In football, I mean, I hate to tell everybody this, but college football is really boring. If you look at every game, it's fun on the weekends, right? It's fun on the weekends because they can bounce you back and forth between all the awesome games. And, it's tight, and they can go a little NFL red zone on you. But college football as a whole is, once you're up 10, 12, 14, 20 points, halftime, that's how most of the games end. They're over. In college basketball, it is not over till it's over. And that's why we love these next 4 days. So I haven't done a deep dive into the age profile, and I think we're just going to have to wait for the COVID kids and all that stuff to just work its way through and see where this ends up.
Now, you had a tweet a little while ago about ACC football and maybe there being something in the water as it pertains to ACC basketball, as Clemson is currently finding themselves in the midst of this. When you look at
Clemson at halftime is getting absolutely smoked by Bama, dude. 31-13. Clemson's only put up a touchdown and 2 field goals in the first half. And like football, man, this is so bad. So I have been doing live betting, modeling for everybody, and I'll keep texting to you, Danny, when I got a winner, right, or when I got a lean.
Absolutely.
There's only 44 points. There only one time in the last 4 years in the men's tournament has there been a 44-point first half. So I got nothing to base this on, and 13 points. Oh my gosh! I mean, it's like you can't even bet this because this halftime score is so wonky. There is nothing there to tell you which way this is going to go but up.
Go ahead.
Sorry, Dave, I just had a quick question about totals in the NCAA tournament. Are those something to stay away from? I like to parlay like two game totals, and in the NCAA tournament, I feel like that's kind of a suicidal mindset because it's just anything can happen. Is that something that I should be following, or is there like a line on totals that you can grab?
No, there isn't. See, my rule of thumb is if I'm betting an under, I want that number to be over 150. I want a big number, right? If that's the way I'm modeling it. And if I'm betting over, I'm looking for something under 130. I try to stay out of the 135 to 150 is kind of the doldrums, the dead zone to me. So I'm always kind of shopping the extremes on the totals. And it's the same thing with the halves, because there's a lot of live second half betting, team totals and game totals in the second half. So far on game totals, we're 2-1 on the model today. And individual team ones, we're 2-0 on those today. So I'll keep feeding those to you guys while you're on the air, and you can keep blasting them out.
Appreciate it.
Hey, love it, Dave. Hey, can we get you to jump on with us tomorrow afternoon as we get into the action tomorrow?
Dude, you guys can call me anytime. I am absolutely drunk off this right now. Not literally, but I mean,
we'll check in later.
This is a cool time of the year. So you guys and if any of your fans hit you up, I'll give you opinions all day on what I think the numbers are saying. Okay, guys?
Awesome. Love you, Bartu.
Appreciate it, man.
Love you guys.
Find him.
You guys have a good day.
Hey, you too, brother. You can find him on Twitter at CFB Matrix. It's not just football, folks. It's basketball, too. Bartu always comes with the goods, man, and he's not kidding. He's been feeding me texts all day.
Follow him, don't fade him.
The problem is the sports book is just too far away for me to get to and run to when we get to commercial breaks, and the line just keeps getting longer. It's every time I want to go over there. But I'll give as many out here as Bartu is letting me go with. So we're going to pivot real quick. We're going to get into our worst day on the web. And look, we've stayed out of the state of Florida for a little while, but this week we just keep going back to Florida because Florida is Floriding hard. We'll get to that next. But first, it's the Big Kahuna with Sports Center Update.
That's that Hawaiian burger joint.
Now, from the George McCoy at Warren Allen Sports Desk, a Sports Center update on 1080 The Fan.
This update brought to you by Vulcan Design and Construction. Check out their award-winning outdoor living designs or schedule your free design consultation at vulcandc.com. First on The Fan, the first round of the NCAA tournament is underway. Currently, about 12:54 left in the second half on CBS. Auburn opening it up against 16-seed Alabama State. 58-38 is your score there. They're at halftime. And number 12, McNeese, all over 5th seed Clemson. That is 31-13 at the half. That game on True TV. 8:33 left to go in the first half on TNT. And 6th seed BYU with a 3-point lead over 11th seed VCU. That one is 22-19, and 8th seed Gonzaga and number 9 seed Georgia just getting ready on TBS. Got some finals already. 9 seed Creighton shooting over 57% from the field and upsets 8th seed Louisville 89-75. 4 seed Purdue over 13 seed High Point 75-63. 3rd seed Wisconsin, no trouble with 14 seed Montana 85-66, and 16 seed SIU Edwardsville just couldn't put anything together against number 1 Houston. They fell 78-40. More sports scores and stories in 30 minutes. I'm Jeff Russ from the George McCoy at Warren Allen Sports Desk. hurt and missing work, insurance companies acting like jerks. Don't call your mom. Call George McCoy at warrenallen.com.
The Hot Corner, now in its new time. Tuesdays at 7 after Isaac and Sue on Portland's Sports Leader, 1080, The Fan. It's time for today's worst day on the web. With Danny and Dusty on Odyssey and 1080 The Fan.
Oh, really? That sucks.
Ladies and gentlemen, the state of Florida is flirting incredibly hard, and scammers are going to scam.
Oh, no.
This is an insane story.
I just dealt with this here in Oregon.
With the Real ID?
Yeah, going because thankfully my ID expired on my birthday, which was right before May. The Real ID, mandate.
The big push. So,
whatever the hell it's called.
So if you don't have one, number one, go get it because they're actually starting to enforce this stuff. And if you want to fly, you're not going to be able to fly without it out of here. But there's an issue going on in Florida because the DMV is so booked out that nobody can get in to get this new Real ID, right? Or their version of it down there. And it has gotten so bad. Look, Florida will invent ways to scam you. It is scam central. My God, this is incredible. A group of people put a bot farm together and secured all of the DMV appointments for months at a new Miami-Dade office where DMV appointments are being added. With that, they have secured them all, and they were selling them for $250 a piece.
I'm usually
free DMV appointments were being sold for $250 a piece, and because they were so booked out and people were so desperate, they were paying to get them.
I'm usually a capitalism supporter and one that likes the free market, but this sucks. People are just a-holes. I cannot believe that, and it was hard to find an appointment to a DMV here in Oregon. I had to wait, randomly got one at McMinnville, and then drove 40 minutes to get my Real ID, but this is just gross. People are evil, man.
Yeah, this is there are months-long wait times for these, and it has gotten so egregious in the state of Florida following a similar issue that happened in Texas in 2021 that the federal government might intervene and make selling these appointments a federal crime.
Well, you know what? We need to make botting. If you don't know what a bot farm is, essentially it's just something that handles all of the background stuff that you see on the internet when you go try to book something or buy something, and it does it in a tenth of a second, basically, not even close to what a human could do. It's just technology way faster. And now, apparently, instead of just buying sports cards and Pokemon cards and Nike shoes, we're buying spots at the DMV with these bots now? No, stop it. Bots need to be made illegal. This is ridiculous.
It's absolutely incredible stuff.
Lord.
Look, where there is a potential to scam, people will scam. That is nothing new.
You're right.
It's as old as time immemorial. Scalping DMV appointments is a new level of low that I did not think possible. But look, if there's a market for something, people will find a way. The first crackdown here is Miami-Dade. Their county commissioner has already introduced legislation to make selling appointments illegal in their region with a fine of $500. They are trying to push this up even higher to the federal level.
How are they going to catch people, though?
The same way they caught this group, they can put in bot detectors and they can find false identities, and if they don't match when you make your appointment and when you get there, well, then they start tracing it back and figuring out. Look, when the government wants to find something and make it illegal and make you pay for it, they're mildly decent at that, at least.
It takes money and it takes manpower to fix this. So I've heard from companies, like big conglomerates that make sales in warehouses and regular stores that we're all familiar with. They don't want to spend the money to do this, but it sounds like Florida is or Miami-Dade County is being forced into spending the money and the manpower to deal with this. But you know what? Maybe that's a good thing. We really do need, I don't care if government funds are being used for this, even though it's not my state. We need more of a push to stop this. This is just I get it. People are going to scalp, but botting is a terrible thing, and we need to take auto retail bots and auto buy bots for tickets, because there's a thing in Congress for that right now. They're looking at Ticketmaster allowing bots to buy up all their tickets. This whole botting thing, it's got to stop. We can try to deal with the a-holes individually, but it would be so much easier if we didn't let people bot.
Yeah, no, it's a scourge upon humanity, and I hate it with a fiery passion of 1,000 suns. We are going to talk NBA and college basketball all day, but there's a little bit of NFL news. The San Francisco 49ers are a drastically different team heading into next year. John Lynch has addressed the changes that have gone on and is trying to get out in front of what it appears to be not a train wreck, but a train that is careening down the tracks at a high velocity towards a very immovable object.
Not atop the NFC anymore, you say?
So he's trying to get out in front of this, and we'll dive into that next here on Danny and Dusty.
The best bet.
It's true, our annual basketball party is back. George McCoy and Warren Allen, Attorneys at Law, presents Fan Madness today and tomorrow. And we are live on location at the Stadium Sports Bar and A&A Sportsbook. Dirt and Sprague will be up here in just a little bit. They'll be ready to go for the morning tomorrow morning. It is me and Jordan Schultz today. Will Order will be in tomorrow. Isaac and Suk, I'm sure, will be popping in here ever so shortly at the area's top location for the best 2 days of tournament basketball. Fan Madness is also brought to you by Coors Light and Video Only. Make every buzzer beater, bracket buster, and Cinderella run mean more than A&A Sportsbook. Join us here today and tomorrow for Fan Madness.
I gotta still throw my $10 bet on Black 17. That's what my dad always does when he gets into the casino. And I told a listener to do that last time they went to Vegas, and they actually won. So
hey, there you go.
Gotta go put my bet on Black 17.
Gotta make it happen. I still haven't played roulette in my life, so maybe I'll find a way to work my way over there after I hop off air.
Are you a table game guy at all? Or?
And I am a pokerman.
Okay,
ditto. The first time I ever legally gambled at a casino, I had just graduated from survival school in the Air Force. I went to a casino in Spokompton.
Nice.
And I made $7,700 in under 10 minutes. And then I colored up, got out, and they were not happy with me.
You lucky bitch.
I did not know the rules about just packing up your money and getting out of there, but it ended up being a great night. It was supposed to pay for our drinks for all of my other fellow soldiers, airmen, and seamen out there. Instead, we ended up partying with Cuba Gooding Jr., and he covered our drinks that night.
Hell yeah.
It was a night to remember, ladies and gentlemen. That is all I can tell you about that night.
You are supposed to give them the chance to win it back, though. That is poker etiquette,
Yeah,
sir.
no, that was blackjack the first time.
Blackjack?
Spanish blackjack. And,
oh, no, then the casino. They were just mad at you because you beat them.
Yeah, no, I got my money and got on out there. This is the one little bit of NFL news we will talk about today because we are going to be basketball heavy. That's really why Dusty left. He knew I was going to take over. But the San Francisco 49ers have suffered a ton of losses. There is going to be a massive, massive changeover for the team down in the Bay. Despite how good they have been, they have fallen short. They went all in, and boy, did they get decimated by injuries up and down their roster. Already this year in the offseason, they have lost the following: Jalen Moore at tackle, guard Aaron Banks, safety Talanoa Hufanga, linebacker Dre Greenlaw, cornerback Travarius Ward, and as well as trading away Deebo Samuel. On the defensive side, they've also lost Javon Hargrave, Malik Collins, and Leonard Floyd. That is a lot of starters.
I mean, that's literally been their team almost for the past 2 years. I remember when they just brought Hargrave in a couple of seasons ago as the fixer on their defensive line, and now look where they are.
Yeah, no, this is a team that went all in after coming off a Super Bowl loss, and this was a tight window, and they knew that if they went all in, they would have to do some sort of reset. Well, General Manager John Lynch has addressed the media, and in a report with The Athletic, his comment starts with, the team has a plan, and some big things are coming our way. We've got this thing called the draft, and we've got a lot of picks. I think the thing the fans should know is that we have a plan, and we're going to execute that plan, and we're excited about the opportunity. Now, he's not wrong in the sense that the fans should probably give them benefit of the doubt. John Lynch has done an incredible job with that franchise.
Absolutely.
The really only miss that they have had, and boy was it massive, was with Trey Lance and how much draft capital they got out of that. But they were able to save themselves by drafting a quarterback at the last pick in the draft.
They literally brushed that off their back because of Brock Purdy.
And that is such a tremendous deal. And they probably should be given the benefit of the doubt, considering not only the moves they made in trades, moves they made in free agency, but the moves they've made in the draft outside of Trey Lance. Lynch followed up saying, last year we had such a good roster, I think we doubled down and said, let's go for this thing. And we kind of pushed all the chips in, knowing that at some point you're going to have that reset. And this is where the 49ers find themselves at right now. They have a very expensive roster. They're going to put more money into Brock Purdy than they obviously have in the past, where he was the cheapest player in the league that was drafted because he was the last pick in the draft. Mr. Irrelevant himself. You know, he's getting more money in roster bonus than he's getting in salary and in those kind of situations. Well, the money has come due for him. They've got money into Brandon Ayuk. They've got money into Christian McCaffrey. They've got money up and down that roster is going to force them and dictate to them that they have to hit picks in the draft. And with that, you look at the San Francisco 49ers, And even with all of those changes, even you as Seahawk fan, you have to at least go, look, we love to see them fail. We love to see them fall to the side.
I'm actually a Rams fan. But
oh, Rams. I'm sorry. You're
okay.
Rams fan.
Same division.
Seattle Mariners fan. Yeah, I always forget your allegiances are back and forth.
It is.
A little like me and having some Northwest ties and some LA ties.
I just followed my dad's love for the Rams, so that's all.
Hey, it happens, man. It's I did the same thing with the Raiders. Growing up in LA when the Raiders were down there, that was my love, and they're now in their third city. So,
but essentially, I don't want to see them succeed. Other side of it, really, but the same. It's the Niners. I don't want to see them do better.
But you also look at that and you have to go, yeah, this is GM speak. Yeah, this is, hey, calm down a little bit. We've been successful.
Yeah.
But also they've earned that, haven't they?
I do feel like the Niners, I like to look at past success as an indicator of future success.
Mm-hmm.
Now, that's not always the best way to go, but it's one reason why I've been so down on Joe Cronin and the current Trailblazers regime, because I don't believe they handled the Dame trade correctly. I don't feel like they blummed up the Jeremy Grant situation. We're able to get a first-round pick for him now. Probably not ever going to be able to get that. So there are things that the front office have done that has not made me confident that going forward they're going to be able to build a roster that gets them to third or fourth in the Western Conference. Now, on the other side of the coin, John Lynch, they got super lucky, and not lucky in the sense of getting that last pick turning into a starting quarterback, but ultimately it was one of the biggest cap helpers that you could have in the NFL. You love a cheap young quarterback out of the first round, but they're making, a few million even still. And Brock Purdy was making $700,000. This is kind of a gift that the Niners have been given that no other NFL team has had. And in the world of parity in the NFL, welcome to it. You've got to see guys eventually be given up on or move on because, it comes to a decision. Do you want to keep Debo on the roster? Do you want to pay him and Brandon Ayuk and Christian? Because at that point, you can't pay Brock Purdy. And now, as a lot of teams in the NFL have to do, you got to go into the draft to try to replenish these pieces that have been so impactful for your team. That's why I love the NFL. I know that if you're Pat Mahomes or if you're Tom Brady back in the Patriots days, you make it way easier at the top of the regime in the league to sign players like that. But guess what? They've already got that money in elsewhere. So John Lynch essentially has to create magic, but I don't think that that's far out of the realm. He's already created magic. He got there with Colin Kaepernick. He's gotten there with Brock Purdy. They've been on the top of the NFC with him leading him. I don't see why they couldn't be again. It's just what happens in the NFL. You got to take a couple of steps back. The league forces that. And frankly, I think we all like parity in the way that it's made the NFL work.
It's going to be very interesting. They're definitely one of the teams to monitor, follow, just because of how much they have invested in the franchise right now at the top end. And the margins get razor thin. It worked out for your Rams when they pushed all in. They have a Super Bowl to show for it.
Exactly.
The 49ers not getting a Super Bowl for it does not bother me in the sense of they shouldn't have gone for it. They shouldn't have done something. They shouldn't have tried this, because this is what when you talk about ownership in sports, when you have a window, you go all in, you make the chance, or you give yourself the chance of the opportunity. It doesn't guarantee success. That's the reality. And as much as everybody would like that to be the case, the only place that happens is when you're the Dodgers.
You can spend as much money as you want in baseball, and technically in basketball too, but you can't in football. And John Lynch, if you read between the lines, he's talking to his fans saying, hey, this is what we have to do. Trust me.
And I think at this point they've probably done more than enough to earn that trust. All right, as we get into hour number 3, we will reset. The Portland Trailblazers get a win against a team above 500, and the play-in is on the table. How do you feel about it? Let us know on the on the fan text line, 503-864-6326. I know that a lot of you listening out there are anti-play-in. Here's your chance to vent. Go ahead and do it, and we will dive into that next here in hour number 3 on Danny and Dusty, Today the Fan.
I'm Chelsea Messenger.
from the George McCoy at Warren Allen Sports Desk. A Sports Center update on 1080 The Fan.
Jeff Rust with your Sports Center update. First on The Fan, the first round of the NCAA tournament is currently underway. 4:39 left in regulation on CBS. Number 1 Auburn pulling away from 16 seed Alabama State now. That lead is 74-51. Midway through the second half on True TV, 12 seed McNeese not letting their foot off the gas against 5 seed Clemson. McNeese leading 47-27. They're at halftime on TNT, and some potato mojo going on as 6 seed BYU leading 11 seed VCU 39-28, and close to midway through the first half on TBS, and Georgia can't get anything going. That 9 seed, 8 seed Gonzaga leading Georgia 27-5. Some finals from earlier. 9 seed Creighton upsets 8 seed Louisville 89-75. 4 seed Purdue over 13 seed High Point 75-63. 3rd seed Wisconsin, very little trouble with 14 seed Montana 85-66. And number 16 seed SIU Edwardsville, they just couldn't do anything against number 1 Houston. They fell 78-40. And the Trailblazers, winners of their last 3 games, they host Nikola Jokic and the Nuggets tomorrow night. Portland now 31-39 on the season, just 2 games out of the final play-in spot. More sports scores and stories in 30 minutes. I'm Jeff Rust from the George McCoy at Warren Allen Sports Desk. Hurt and missing work, insurance companies acting like jerks. Don't call your mom. Call George McCoy at warrenallen.com.
The original home of the Herd with Colin Cowherd. Weekdays 9 to noon, 1080 The Fan. It's the best basketball party anywhere.
Streaky teams are scary in the NCAA tournament.
On both sides.
On both sides. And if Liberty gets hot, watch out.
Live from the Stadium Sports Bar at A&A Sportsbook, George McCoy at Warren Allen Attorneys at Law presents a Fan Madness edition of Danny and Dusty. Hurt and missing work? Insurance companies acting like jerks? Don't call your mom. Call George McCoy at warrenallen.com. A&A, make every buzzer beater, bracket buster, and Cinderella run mean more at A&A Sportsbook. Fan Madness is also brought to you by Video Only, where you always get the best deals on top-rated brands of TVs and home theater, and by Coors Light, the world's most refreshing beer. Enjoy responsibly. Fan Madness from A&A on 1080 The Fan.
It's hour number 3 here on Danny and Dusty. Dusty in the tropical flows of Mexico. Jordan Schultz sitting in. Jeff Rust back in the studio holding things down. And that's right, ladies and gentlemen, our annual basketball party is back. George McCoy at Warren Allen Attorneys at Law presents Fan Madness today and tomorrow at the Stadium Sports Bar and A&A Sportsbook. Dirt and Sprague will be up here in a little bit. As I said, it is me and Jordan Schultz today. Will Ortner will step in tomorrow. Isaac and Suk will be in here. They will go all day today. They will be preempted or post-empted 20 minutes tomorrow because the Oregon Ducks get underway for their tournament run at 6:40 tomorrow at night. Not afternoon, 6:40 tomorrow night.
What a setup. It's usually like some Ducks rando 11 o'clock tip or whatever it is in the tournament, but this is probably the best one in memory.
They got a primetime Friday night slot.
That's awesome.
Fan Madness is brought to you by Coors Light and Video Only. Make every buzzer beater, bracket buster, and Cinderella run mean more at A&A Sportsbook. Join us for Fan Madness today and tomorrow. Folks are starting to filter in. It is a grand old time. Seats are filling up. In fact, it is getting tight in here.
The tables are starting. I'm seeing
tables, the bars, all of our little Tournament Madness chairs, lounge chairs are filling up here.
It used to be 2 people per table. Now it's like 5. They're all full.
It's getting full in here. It's going to be a good old time. And get on down here if you want to get locked in for the day. And we will get to some more tournament basketball as McNeese State is putting a hurting on Clemson right now, up 19 with under 9 minutes to go in the game. But as of right now, the Portland Trailblazers are 2 games out of a play-in spot. The 10 seed is in range after a 115-99 win over the Memphis Grizzlies. The Blazers get their first win over a team over 11 tries, including last night. They are creeping close, and as you heard Dusty and I talking about it over the last week, the math was not mathing. After the results around the NBA last night, the Dallas Mavericks falling on their face and dropping a game that they had no business dropping, and the Phoenix Suns winning and the Blazers upsetting the Grizzlies, all of a sudden you have a heated race for the 10 seed in the Western Conference and a play-in spot on the line.
It's pretty close, and as a Blazers fan that wants to see them get better, I feel like I myself am kind of sitting on the fence. Should I be rooting for success of this team into the play-in, or should I be mad that they're doing this and maybe not able to get as high of a draft pick as they should? I don't know how I'm supposed to feel about this, Danny. I'm not sure.
You can feel how you want. Look, I've made no bones about it. My thought process and belief is that they need to add a little bit more talent to this team. But I also talk to these players and I talk to these coaches, and I know for them it means something.
Of course it does.
That's
why tanking the NBA is so hard.
No matter who you put out there, they're going to try to. I shouldn't say that because there are teams. Watching that Wizards team, they were not trying.
Utah's pretty good at tanking.
My goodness, the great suck-off last night. It was the most important, least important game of all time last night as the Wizards and Jazz faced off, and who can suck more?
I mean, do you try to miss shots at that point? It's because
it just happens.
It's okay. They are just that bad.
It just happens. They're built that way. But the Portland Trailblazers behind Denny Avdia's second game of his career, second game this month of 30-plus points, 15-plus rebounds, 5-plus assists. Denny popped off last night. 26 points, 5 rebounds, 4 assists in the first half. A 71-point first half for the Portland Trailblazers, in which they seemingly could not miss 14 made threes. They shoot over 50% from 3 in the first half, 14 of 27. And it seemed like they couldn't miss, and they started the game on fire. They came out in the second quarter on fire. They came out in the third quarter on fire. Even they came out in the fourth quarter. In a quarter, they only scored 19 points. They came out firing. And in the post-game comments, I asked Chauncey Billups what he was most impressed with the performance last night. And he said, the fact that we came out and we hit first.
Yeah.
The two previous matchups against the Memphis Grizzlies, they fell down 18-6 and 18-7, and they could never recover. Of course, they got smacked in the opening month of the season by the Grizzlies, a 40-point loss that, it sent the team spiraling. It was the thing where they were not feeling it, man. And you could just feel this, this is not good. This is a problem that you don't want to see just kind of infect the team. And that team versus the team that you saw last night, same roster, two different teams.
Without Ja Morant, but it looks like this team actually has some ability to play defense now. And actually, speaking of ability to play defense, let's key in a little bit on Anthony Simons. He had 2 really good plays last night, including one steal for a pretty nice, easy dunk for him that I thought that was a point of contention from Chauncey in the beginning of this season as to why Anthony Simons maybe couldn't be on the floor as much as you wanted him to, or maybe the Blazers weren't as successful as in some points, even though they're a lesser team as they should be, because they weren't playing defense. But now I think that's the biggest thing that you can say that is different from the beginning of the season to now, is not just the defensive ability, but really the effort. Whatever you want to say, Chauncey calling them losers. There were a couple of points during the season where it was an obvious point of turnaround where they seemed to just get it, and all of a sudden they realized, okay, no, we actually do have to put effort in on the defensive end, because that's all it takes. We don't necessarily need to see skill. We know that there's guys like Camara, guys like Avdia. We expect Clingan to grow into a defensive powerhouse for the Portland Trailblazers, but you need guys like Ant to be doing the same thing. And frankly, it increases his value on the open market too, if you still wanted to trade him. But regardless of them playing for the play-in or not, seeing the growth of the team on the defensive end of the floor, I think that was one of the biggest things that you noticed last night for the Blazers.
And Chauncey Billups did highlight Anthony Simons last night in the post-game comments. He said, hey, look, Ant knows he's going to get hunted.
Yeah.
And I've tried to tell Blazers fans this. Well, why isn't Ant being held accountable? Getting beat and getting hunted on the floor, but competing and being in the right spots and doing the right things, it matters. It just does. And you can argue with me until you're blue in the face, and I just don't care. I don't. Because in talking to the players, they go, look, we know Ant is not the best defender, but it's not for lack of effort or lack of trying or not being in the right space or not competing.
Yeah.
And they know that they have to match that level of intensity. They everything that comes with that, the structure of the defense is built off being in the right place, doing the right things, and competing.
Yeah.
And if you don't do those things, then everything else falls apart around it. The reason Anthony Simons is hunted is, he's not a great defender, but he also weighs 195 pounds. That's why he's hunted, is because just pound for pound, strength-wise, everybody in the damn league's bigger than him.
Well, he's a shooter first. It's just like Dame and CJ, but specifically more Dame. You're not gonna. It's keyed in on the offensive end. There are other guys on the team that are supposed to defend. So what do you want? Anthony Simons giving 100% effort on the offensive end all the time, which is where the Blazers are going to need him most? Or do you want them, to sacrifice a little bit of that so he can play more defense? You've got guys that can play defense. So if you're
and Ant is playing defense. Is it the best defense?
No, but he's trying.
And then that's the thing that matters, and that was what Chauncey Billups was trying to hold accountable with Scoot Henderson and Shaedon Sharpe.
Yeah.
And I think you've seen drastic growth from both those guys, understanding what the ask is, what the role is, what the responsibility is. And as they have taken on that role and met expectations, they're getting more leash, they're getting more opportunities because they're understanding that stuff. And that's just part of the growth process. And you're seeing that throughout the team, the defensive ethos of what they are and how they compete. The reason they're able to win that game last night isn't just because their offense is that good in the first half. It's because they hold the Memphis Grizzlies to 10 points in the fourth quarter.
Yeah.
The Memphis Grizzlies hit one shot in the first 11 minutes of the fourth quarter. That is a big, big deal. And now the play-in is within range. And again, Joe Cronin has said following the trade deadline, he was not going to take it off the table for them. He was going to give them the opportunity. And right now, the opportunity is there. It is a 2-game split between the Portland Trail Blazers and the Phoenix Suns right now, and the Dallas Mavericks who are tied for that 10th spot. Again, I wish that, and my belief is that they should have gone for lottery odds. They're not. So now you talk about and you look at what they're doing right now, and that's going at the play-in. And right now, the math is mathing.
Yeah.
The Phoenix Suns have the toughest schedule in the NBA down the stretch. They play 2 teams under 500 for the rest of the season. The Dallas Mavericks are decimated. They are trying to rush Anthony Davis back from a groin injury. That certainly won't blow up in their face. I mean,
Nico's a smart one down there. He'll be fine. They'll handle it okay.
And a text came in on the fan text line. Can we please stop saying the Blazers are going to give up their draft pick? The Blazers do not give up their draft pick if they make the play-in.
And that's what I was trying to there is a specific situation in which they do, and then they won't if that doesn't happen. So
yes, so if they make the play-in, they would have to win both games as a 9 or a 10 seed to make the actual playoff. If they make the actual playoff, then they would give up their draft pick to the Chicago Bulls that is lottery protected. Because even if you lose, if you go to play-in and lose, you still are in the lottery, which means your pick is lottery protected, therefore you do not convey it. And that will hold true until 2027.
I mean, so there is a chance that the Blazers, if they play well enough, if they go on a run, despite their schedule being a little bit tougher here at the end of the season, playing great teams like Cleveland. I think they have one more against Boston. They end the season against Los Angeles. This ain't easy. Who knows if they're sitting guys at the end of the season or not. But how much of a chance is it that they lose their draft pick? Not much, but ultimately
it's very small.
Yeah, exactly. But ultimately you're looking at, them getting into the play-in and how much this affects the team going towards the future. Do you think like a 7 or 8 spot and not getting into the play-in compared to like the 13th spot in the draft and getting into the play-in helps this team developmentally more?
It's eye of the beholder.
Okay.
I think the talent level stuff matters more to me.
For sure.
But even though I could disagree with going for the play-in,
yeah,
I do see the value in it. Just talking to the players and how they talk. And the thing I always talk about with young guys is not just minutes, it's minutes that matter.
Yeah.
Being in crunch time situations, playing against good teams and games that matter is real, valuable, tangible stuff. It just is. It depends on how you value and evaluate that. Every front office around the league has a different way of looking at that.
Yep.
And that's the interesting thing about, kind of what they have coming up. We've talked about defense so much and the defensive talisman that they have in Toumani Camara. There are reverberations around the NBA. Toumani Camara, Defensive Player of the Year? We'll get to that next year on Danny and Dusty, 1080 The Fan.
Check out the Fan
We're absolutely live at Stadium Sports Bar and Grill here at A Sportsbook. Come down, hang out with us. It is a grand old time. Isaac and Suk will take over here in a little over 40 minutes for prime time. In the meantime, Jordan Schultz in for Dusty Hera, out for the next couple of days because he's in Mexico. But the Portland Trailblazers have built a defensive identity. And I wanted to dive into this because I've talked to a few national writers and some folks around the NBA about Toumani Camara and the swell that is building behind him about potentially making an all-defensive team in the NBA. And it's not a foregone conclusion, but it feels closer and closer. I'm currently in the process of writing the 5,000-word write-up on the case for Toumani Camara. I have, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14, 15, 16, 17 players on my list of potential all-defensive players in the NBA. And that's actually missing some because there's actually going to be quite a few that are not going to qualify for the minimum games played or minutes played necessary to make that list. Tops amongst them, Victor Wembanyama, who would be the just runaway winner of Defensive Player of the Year and First Team All-Defense. He is a defense unto himself.
After getting it stolen from him last year, allegedly anyways.
I mean, they just weren't going to give it to a rookie despite him breaking the defensive mold that we've ever seen in the NBA. With that being said, more than a handful of people have said, I could see Toumani Camara having Defensive Player of the Year candidacy.
I mean, the candidacy part doesn't surprise me at all. I think that there was no one close to Wemby before he went out as far as Defensive Player of the Year.
It's a wide open
odds.
race.
Yeah, now I'm looking at it as a couple of days ago. It's Evan Mobley, the favorite right now at minus 275. But then he got, like you said, more wide open. Dyson Daniels, Draymond Green. There's a player of guy.
There's been a push for Draymond lately, and I'm wondering if that's the sports books just trying to collect money because Draymond's not winning Defensive Player of the Year.
What is that? Do they just put a name in that people will recognize?
Yes.
Yeah.
And they go, oh, we like him. We like money. We'll go ahead and take your money, and we'll go ahead and get that. But with that being said, just kind of diving into the numbers and across the NBA in the trackable metrics.
Yeah.
I've got a bunch of the advanced data with access to Second Spectrum and some of that stuff that I'll dive into in the granular, but it's actually pretty damn impressive what Toumani Camara has been able to do. Besides being one of the most switchable, functional 1 through 5 defenders in the NBA, this is a guy that can guard Darius Garland and Donovan Mitchell on one night and guard Nikola Jokic on the next. Or if you want to take the Denver Nuggets in case in hand, when they played their series before the All-Star break, guarded Jamal Murray. Jamal Murray was not as good in Game 1 of that, and then guarded Jokic in Game 2 of that, and you saw it flip on its head as Jamal Murray went for 55.
Yeah.
The level of impact and defensive capabilities of Toumani Camara have grown each season and each game.
Toumani reminds me, and he's much better than, but he reminds me of a Nick Batum back in the day where you knew Nick was going to be on the best offensive player on the other team, and that is exactly what the Blazers have in Toumani Camara. And on top of that, I mean, we were talking a little bit about how undervalued he is. Early second-round pick when he got traded in that DeAndre Ayton deal to Portland, and kind of this unsung hero now all of a sudden exploding onto the scene. I would say that kind of undervalued reasoning maybe why he won't be necessarily thrown up to the top of the conversation, but he at least should be there. When you look at other names beyond Daniels and Green, like Jaren Jackson Jr., Dort, even Shai Gilgeous is on the list. I don't understand why people aren't talking about not only his ability to get the ball back to his team, but just the leading in charges, offensive charges taken in the NBA. I think the next guy closest to him is 5 or 6 behind.
And Brandon Podziemski.
He's such a smart defender on top of that. It's just the IQ with Toumani is so high, and I think that is so much more valuable to the Blazers because they need those hits on those undervalued guys than any other team, and that should throw him enough into the conversation. But just because of that undervalued start, he probably won't be at the top, unfortunately.
The interesting thing about this is when you take a look at this, it becomes why not?
Yeah.
It becomes a why not situation. And when you start diving into the actual data behind stuff. So Dyson Daniels is having an insane season when it comes to steals, leads the NBA by a lot. He is currently at 194.
Okay.
I believe the next closest is at 117. Jeez. He is shattering records for deflections. He is currently at 382. No one is within 150 deflections of him.
That is an otherworldly. That's like video game stats.
It is, and he is just a passing lane disruptor, thief of epic proportions. When you look at a guy like Shai Gilgeous-Alexander, after Dyson Daniels, SGA is number 2 in combined steals and blocks, or stocks. So the list goes: Dyson Daniels, SGA, Jaren Jackson Jr., Brook Lopez, Jaden McDaniels, Amen Thompson, Jalen Williams, Keon Ellis, Evan Mobley, then Toumani Camara. And the interesting thing is, once you get past Daniels, you drop off almost 60 combined steals and blocks. And then there's a group of SGA, Jaren, and Brook Lopez who are within 15 of each other. And then from 163 combined stocks all the way down to 127, which is Ivica Zubac. It's very tight. Toumani Camara is 1 stock behind Evan Mobley, 1 in front of OG Anunoby. He is 2 behind Keon Ellis, 3 behind Jalen Williams. What is this? 9 behind Amen Thompson. So that's one part of this, the counting stats, blocks, and steals.
Yeah.
But then you get into charges taken, which you talked about. On this list, Brandon Podziemski is not on this list because he's not on my ballot if I had one for Defensive Player of the Year or All-Defensive Team. Toumani Camara has 27 charges taken. The next closest has 5. 5.
So the gap was wider than I thought.
Okay.
My goodness.
And that is Lou Dort. In offensive fouls drawn, Toumani Camara leads the league at 76. The next closest is Lou Dort at 51. So if you're talking about Toumani Camara and Lou Dort as guys that you're looking at as possibly making a first-team all-defense, Toumani is beating him in steals, in blocks, in deflections, and shattering it in charges taken and offensive fouls drawn.
I mean, this also, on top of his value, just kind of, being as somebody that's coming onto the scene more recently, I feel like his uniform, being a Portland Trailblazer, is hurting him because Lou Dort, Shai Gilgeous, Jalen Williams, 3 Thunder players I see just on the top of the favorites to win the Defensive Player of the Year on the betting lines. The fact that Toumani's even below them, you talk about why not. I guess on the other end, why isn't he being more considered? It's got to be because he's in a Blazer uniform.
That is a part of it, and then you bring up the OKC part of this. OKC, that's what's going to be interesting to see how this all shakes out, is because Oklahoma City has by far the best defense in the NBA this year by basically every measure. It's because they have Lou. It's because they have SGA. It's because they have Jalen Williams. They have Chet Holmgren. They have Alex Caruso. They have Isaiah Hartenstein. They've got so many good defensive players, great defensive players, to be honest, that the likelihood of them getting more all-defensive slots makes you wonder, does that knock to a second team? Does it knock him out? But also the candidacy for Defensive Player of the Year, because you do have some guys that aren't on the board anymore, it becomes a why-not scenario.
It's true.
But he also has a incredibly strong case for being a first-team all-defensive team member.
I think he should
among
be.
everybody on the list, outside of, again, the Victor Wembanyama types, it's really between him and Amen Thompson as being like the all-around guys that are so disruptive, that are up there in steals, that are up there in blocks, that are up there in deflections, that are up there in all the other categories along with Lou Dort. And if you're the Blazers, why wouldn't you go out there and be like, yeah, he is Defensive Player of the Year, because it is so wide open.
I mean, I need to see Amen Thompson up close, but I've seen Toumani up close, and you talk about effort, you talk about basketball IQ. That dude is one of the most keyed-in defensive players that I think I've ever watched. He anticipates, and that's something, you talk about the effort, but the anticipation that he has, in my opinion, is second to none. It's why he's so good at drawing charges.
All right, coming up next, we are going to pivot back to everything going on in the NCAA tournament. Bar 2 has texted in. We'll get to that next here on Danny Desmond. First, it's Big Kudo Sports Center Update.
You mind if I have some of your tasty beverage to wash this down?
Now, from the George McCoy at Warren Allen Sports Desk, a Sports Center update on 1080 The Fan.
This update brought to you by Crunch Fitness. Memberships as low as $9.99 per month. Find your Crunch time in Portland, Vancouver, and online at crunch.com. First on the Fan, the first round of the NCAA tournament is underway. First round action on True TV. We got about 3 minutes left in the in regulation. 12-seed McNeese leading 5-seed Clemson 57-47. About 15 minutes left in the second half on TNT, and 6-seed BYU opening it up against 11 seed VCU. That now a 54-39 lead, and 3:07 left in the first half on TBS. 18 Gonzaga all over 9 seed Georgia. That one is 43-23. Finals from earlier: 9 seed Creighton upsetting 8 seed Louisville 89-75. 4 seed Purdue over 13 seed High Point 75-63. 3rd seed Wisconsin, little trouble with 14 seed Montana. 85-66 is your final. Number 16 seed SIU Edwardsville, they just couldn't put anything together against number 1 Houston. They fell 78-40. After a slow start, 1 seed Auburn pulls away from 16 seed Alabama State for an 83-63 win. And the Trailblazers, winners of their last 3 games, they host Nikola Jokic and the Nuggets tomorrow night. Portland now 31-39 on the season, just 2 games out of the final play-in spot. More sports scores and stories in 30 minutes. I'm Jeff Rust from the George McCoy at Warren Allen Sports Desk. Hurt and missing work, insurance companies acting like jerks. Don't call your mom. Call George McCoy at warrenallen.com.
The Fan is live on YouTube and Twitch. And now, Window Nation brings you on-demand videos. Watch Window Nation's window into 1080 The Fan.
That's right, our annual basketball party is back. George McCoy and Warren Allen, Attorneys at Law, presents Fan Madness today and tomorrow at the Stadium Sports Bar and A&A Sportsbook. Dirt and Sprague, me and Schulte today, Ortner in tomorrow. Isaac and Suk will be here shortly for primetime. It is the top location for the 2 best days of tournament basketball. Fan Madness is also brought to you by Coors Light and video only. Make every buzzer beater, bracket buster, and Cinderella run mean more at the A&A Sportsbook. Come down here, join us for Fan Madness. For all the details, you can go to 1080thefan.com. Bar 2, the CFB Matrix himself, and we call him the CBB Matrix today. He has spoken. Georgia has an offense outside the top 200 and defense outside the top 180, playing a top 10 Gonzaga offense. Shaking my head, Uga should not be a 9 seed, and even managed to work an overrated chance into the text.
I mean, they do look pretty bad. And Gonzaga, people forgot that they were the 8th-ranked team, it seems like, coming into the country. So,
well, beyond that, it's crunch time here as McNeese State's lead appears to be disappearing.
Oh, no.
And McNeese player, he's going to be okay. They are currently up 9, which seems nearly insurmountable, but that's what March is about. Over 5-seeded Clemson. It will be our first, not necessarily bracket buster, but our first real upset of the day. Auburn was up against it early against Alabama State. It was a 31-32 game with 1:37 remaining in the first half.
And they added 9 or 10 by the end of the first. So theoretically, in 90 seconds here, Clemson could do the same thing against McNeese.
You could see it done, but Auburn tacked on 11 more after that. They finish and cover 83-63. Auburn holds off Alabama State in the second half and gets it done. Again, we are 1:26 to go. McNeese State at the line, currently a 10-point lead with a chance to take it to 11 here. And, of course, it's college basketball. Free throws missed.
So I picked Auburn to win the Natty. Who did you pick there?
Florida.
Okay, so you got Florida.
I
got
went
Auburn.
Florida. And that was even with knowing that Cooper Flagg could potentially come back last night. I still went, Florida's just playing really good. They're an older team. And Bartu's right. That Duke is the only team in the roar you hear is a run out from McNeese State to pump it up to 12, under a minute going.
I wonder what the late game spread was.
Yeah, I would imagine that McNeese is covered the early spread. I'm not sure what the opening spread or the live spread was, because this was getting tight.
Not now.
Yeah, you're hearing a lot of oohs and ahs as a 3 goes down for Clemson. A timeout, down 9 with 44.7 seconds to go.
Oh, this is fun
in the game, and this is what it's all about.
This is getting good.
When it starts to tighten up a little bit. What also might be a potential upset on the board. This is one that I had picked, and Bartu and and Jordan talked about it in the first half of today's show. VCU and BYU, 11-seeded VCU was up early on BYU. BYU is now taking a controlling lead, a 17-point lead, 56-39, but still a lot of time to go there. 12-10 remaining in the second half.
Yeah, I don't like that one.
Early part of the day, though, is gone pretty chalky.
Yeah, I mean, the Auburn game, you said it was close, but they pulled away. It's really, a lot of people thought that this was going to be a chalk tournament. A lot of people were saying, hey, you would probably be smart to put at least 3 number 1 seeds in your Final Four. I've seen a lot of prognosticators putting 4 number 1 seeds in their Final Four. So I'm not surprised at the start of the tournament, at least how it's gone for it being so chalky so far.
No, and obviously it's not a full-on Rock Bowl. But the Kansas Jayhawks will tip off here in about an hour and a half. They will take on Arkansas. It is a 7-seed Kansas against a 10-seeded Arkansas. And Arkansas yesterday made the announcement, forward Adu Thero will not be active.
Oh,
that is a big, big hit for the Razorbacks and John Calipari. He is, while inconsistent, very important to that team. And while Boogie Fland is set to make his return for them, he has not played in what I believe is 2 months. It is going to be a bit of a rust period for him, and it's unclear about how much or how often he's going to be playing. Beyond that, you get a matchup between Cal and Bill Self. You've got a massive coaching matchup, and this was one where I went against my head. My head said pick Kansas. even knowing Thero is out, even knowing Boogie Flan was making his return after being out for so long, I did pick the upset here, going with Arkansas, and my goodness, Clemson hits the three. It is a 6-point game, 65-59 with 38 seconds remaining. It is a full court press and a near turnover from McNeese State. Doing the live play-by-play here, but McNeese State is able to break the press and get the dunk.
Man.
It is an 8-point game, 28
I think
seconds
that
to go.
seals it. That seals it.
Well, if they can get a good look at a three, which they do, and
No
it is
way.
in.
No way.
It is a 5-point
5-point
game.
game.
Timeout, 22.3 seconds to go. Clemson is not dead, folks. And we have our first roars from the Stadium Sportsbook here.
Half the crowd
at
screaming,
A&A.
half
and
roaring.
This is what it's all about. Madness is madnessing here. Big play after big play after big play. And this is the volatility of college basketball that makes this tournament so great. We have not had these moments as of yet, and we are getting them in spades. Had Clemson not gone just ungodly cold in the first half, we might have ourselves a game here. It is still on the line.
The roars that changed to cheers and then the back to the roars of disappointment, just so good right now. And yeah, I've got McNeese going to the Sweet 16 in my bracket. So if Clemson gets back, I'm probably busted because, yeah, I'm never smart. You know what? I did have one perfect day one in my history of brackets ever. I wish I would have put some money on that, but I was so happy, I think, in like 2018 to get every single pick right on day one. But I've never done that since. So.
Well, Bartu has texted it again in the Georgia-Gonzaga matchup. Georgia, the line, second half line is 42.5. Georgia has hit 43 or more points 3 of 17 times since January 1st. The Zags have allowed over 43 just 3 times as well in that same period. Hammer the under 42.5 for the Bulldogs here in the second half as they take on Gonzaga. We are at a 5-point game now with 12-seeded McNeese State up 67-62 with 19.9 seconds to go. Clemson tried to get the steal after the inbound. They intentionally foul, sending McNeese State to the line. They are in the double bonus. It is not the 1 of 1, but the front end of the free throw is missed. It is still on par to be a 2-possession game regardless after the free throw. And you can see the nervousness. The player from McNeese State just winked at his teammate at the free throw line and said, "I'm good."
No, nope.
He is in fact good. Knocks down the free throw. Clemson now with the opportunity, under 19 seconds to go, needs a 3 here. You cannot get anything else. It is up, and it is good again. 68-65. 11.9 seconds to go.
Just fear in McNeese's eyes.
Instant foul, and they are going to play the foul game. 3-point game, 68-65 in the second half. 10.6 seconds remaining. Clemson, McNeese State. I hesitate to go to a break here because of how this game is going.
They were down by 20 at one point. Clemson had, as Dave Bartu put it when he was on, a football score to end the first half.
It was absolutely egregious.
That's crazy.
I'm going to take the risk here. Jeff Russ, let's go to break and see if we can catch this on the back end here on Danny and Dusty. Danny the Fan.
It's time for Legends of Hoop, an inside look at the college basketball championships. Brought to you by Legends Casino Hotel, within winning distance.
Paul against P.J. Tucker, 2 of the oldest players in the league. Momo demolishes the Knickerbockers.
Look, I know this is supposed to be a college segment, but when somebody does something never before seen in the NBA, he becomes a legend of hoop. Unconscious and with no conscience, Spurs forward Sandro Mamukelashvili in 19 minutes off the bench last night in a win over the Knicks shoots 13 of 14 from the field, 7 of 7 from beyond the arc, 34 points, including 21 in the fourth quarter. Those 34 points, the most ever scored in an NBA game in fewer than 20 minutes. He also grabbed 9 rebounds. Prior to last night, his season high was 14 points. Legends of Hoop brought to you by Legends Casino Hotel. Escape to Legends Casino Hotel within winning distance, just a short drive to Toppenish, Washington. The ultimate destination for fun and relaxation, legendscasino.com.
Hello, sports fans, and welcome to
Prime Time.
As we wrap up day one for Danny and Dusty, a Schultz edition with Jeff Russ back in the booth. Ladies and gentlemen, the Southland Conference has defeated the ACC in tournament play for the first time ever. McNeese State pulls the upset, 69-67 over Clemson, and with that, only 5.7% of brackets are left. The first bracket buster of the tournament has occurred, and per CBS Sports research team Matt Norlander, McNeese beating Clemson means the ACC can only have at most 2 teams left in the round of 32,
Yikes.
which would tie for the league's fewest teams standing this early in the NCAA tournament since the field expanded to 32 teams in 1975.
I thought you were all a powerhouse over there.
We are just getting underway here at the Stadium Sports Bar and Grill for Fan Madness. It's been a good day already. It was a slow start to the tournament here for us. A lot of chalk. Our one early upset, as it were, mathematically. Creighton knocking off Louisville. Otherwise, the favorites have held steady until just moments ago, as McNeese State, after losing their coach Will Wade to North Carolina State with a statement win over the ACC's Clemson Tigers, 69-67, in a hell of a close to a game. It got dicey. It got dicey.
It was a nice Colt Printer filled morning. You got to watch a little bit of the Bobo success for High Point against Purdue, but that got the afternoon started off right. I see people filing in, and they got here just in time, and it's just fun. My bracket's still good, thank God, but it's just fun to see all this, and it's fun to be a part of Fan Madness again. This is, like I said earlier in the show, the best event that we do.
It's absolutely awesome. My bracket suffered its first loss with Clemson. Otherwise, I'm still good. I have a reeling suspicion Kansas and Arkansas might bite me. I did pick Arkansas to upset Rob's Jayhawks, despite my better judgment. I blame my attachment to Boogie Fland. It is what it is. I'm a Boogie Fland truther, despite him being a small guard and me not really liking small guards as a projection in the NBA. I saw that dude at Hoop Summit. I watched him play during the season before he broke his hand, and I am a Boogie Fland believer. I think he's a combination of Mike Conley and Darius Garland. He, despite weighing maybe 180 pounds soaking wet, he has got that dog in him. But coming up next, we do have Rob, whose Kansas Jayhawks will tip off here in about an hour and, 15 minutes.
Yeah, I couldn't pick against them just because of Rob.
Hey, look, I may have done it just to be an instigator. And, of course, Big Sook is here, ready to take over for primetime. Isaac and Sook wearing his Brigham Young shirt as BYU is currently taking care of business against VCU.
They made it a little closer, though. Okay, 12-point game now. It was down to 10 a second ago. Now 64-52.
And there's
BYU.
still a lot of time left in that game. 7:48 remaining. Gonzaga, Georgia at the half, 48-27. Gonzaga got out early and often, as Bar2 texted in. Hammer the under on the second half, over of 42.5 for Georgia. They've done it 3 out of 17 times since January 1st. The Gonzaga Bulldogs have allowed 43 only 3 times since January 1st. The numbers in the matrix, it's matrixing very hard. That'll do it for us today here on Danny and Dusty. We appreciate everybody for joining us. Big shout out to the Stadium Sports Bar and Grill here at A. George McCoy and Warren Allen, attorneys at law. Coors Light, video only. We will keep it rolling. Schultz, thank you for stepping in, brother.
Appreciate you, man. It was so much fun. Thanks for having me.
Absolutely, man. We will be joined by Will Ortner tomorrow. The guys from No Ceilings will check in for some NBA draft prospect talk. We'll have Kevin Pelton the Machine on at 2 o'clock joining us to talk about what he sees from college prospects, what the projections look like going forward for some guys we can expect in there. Ladies and gentlemen, this is what it's all about. Come out and join us. We'll be here the rest of the night tonight and into tomorrow, starting with Dirt and Sprague, bright and early at 6 in the morning at the Stadium Sports Bar and Grill. For Schultz, for Rusty back in the studio, ladies and gentlemen, it's that time. It's time for prime time. Isaac and Sook for 4 hours from their mouths to your ears here on primetime here on Danny and Dusty. Everybody take care. Have a wonderful day. Talk soon. Bye.
How you doing? I got a chubby right now.
Danny Moran